least people will know that we're about ready to go.
Right, they can get on the broadcast before it actually starts, which is kind of annoying when you're like, where's it when the the draw time's coming.
Super. No, that was from 2 hours ago. This is draw 18.
Yep.
7th game of 9.
For the ladies?
Yeah. For all all these teams that are remaining. This is finishing up the 7th games.
Yep.
For all teams. And then the guys will be starting their 8th game tomorrow morning.
Our on-ice umpires are Karen, Angela, probably another one out there somewhere.
All right, so we are broadcasting video only.
And would I?
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Broomstones Curling Club, host of the 2013 U.S. Junior National Curling Bonspiel. With me tonight is Dave Fink and Adam Jacobson, and I'm Michael O'Neill, and we're bringing you Draw 18 this evening. Our featured game is going to be on Sheet 2 between the Fowler rink from Alaska and the Minnesota rink from Christensen. Christensen sitting at 5-1 after 6 games, and Fowler at 2-4, but still in it. So, getting ready to get underway here pretty soon. Anything you guys would like to add about these two teams?
It should be a good game, Mike. I think we're through a number of draws. It's their 7th game, and starting to get certainly should be used to the ice and really. So we're expecting a good game tonight. Actually, in all 4 sheets.
I agree. I think these teams really have figured themselves out a little bit and figured out the ice a little bit better. So should hope to see some really close ones.
Well, speaking of ice, we should mention that the weather has changed drastically here in the last 24 hours in Massachusetts. So we could very well see some unique curl tonight, maybe a little bit of straightening out of the rocks. We're getting ready to get underway here soon, but before we start action, we want to make sure we take care of mentioning our sponsors for the entire event here. Our gold sponsors, Dunkin' Donuts of Lexington, who's been providing food, beverage, and great coffee so far the entire weekend. For past national events we've held here at Broomstones, Whole Foods of Wayland, Route 20 in Wayland, Massachusetts, has done lunch, and they're also doing dinner on Saturday for all of the competitors. And Brooms Up Curling Supplies, who's been a great supporter of U.S. curling and is an event sponsor here. So, underway in our action on our featured sheet, the Fowler-Christensen game. And it looks like Christensen starts with hammer, and let's see, Ariel Traxler, the lead for Team Fowler, with a center guard is the call, and looks like it might sneak into the house a little bit, probably finish up top 8.
I think they decided, Mike, to go right in.
Oh, great.
Right off the get-go. And to your point, it's 60 degrees tonight when I drove in here, and drizzling, so high humidity. So it'll be interesting to see how the ice holds up here. In practice, it was curling probably 5 to 6 feet.
All right, well, at least it's still good and swingy. It hasn't straightened out too much with all of this high humidity, so but we'll see if the teams do make the adjustment.
So Christensen was able to grab the hammer with a draw covering the pin, just about completely centered on the button.
And for those of you that are unfamiliar with how competitive curling works, both teams get a 9-minute practice before the draw happens, and at the end of their 9 minutes, they have a chance to take one shot, and closest to the pin starts the game with hammer. And as Adam was saying, the Christensen rink put it right over the pin in their practice shot. Really impressive and hard to beat. So they did start the game with hammer. Looks like now we're trading hits. Christensen hit with their lead rock, and now Fowler's team is looking to trade it right back. So they do make the hit, and they have a nice little bit of roll at the outside of the sheet. So they're sitting 1, Fowler out in the outside 12, and Christensen wasting no time putting the broom down for a straight hit here.
So typical strategy, Mike, just to get their ice legs under them, the ice out a bit, and so they'll trade hits likely in the early ends, and then hopefully game on.
Yeah, this strategy also helps to break down a little bit of the pebble too, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's true. But, as much they do nip it with a scraper beforehand to try and get to good competitive ice right off the get-go, but running a few rocks over it really helps it settle in.
All right, Christensen with a successful hit, but takes a little bit of the inside edge of that and spills out of the house. So an empty house now for Fowler, and the second for Team Fowler, Naimi Schomer, going to try to put something up top of the house here. And sweeper's on that directly out of her hand. Must think it's a little bit light, although Schomer's holding her hand up, asking him to get off it and letting it curl a little bit, as it seems to be hanging outside that sweep line. Well, they give it a chance to start curling back towards center, and the sweepers get back on it, and they do manage to drag it all the way to the top of the house, and looks like they might be biting a piece of the 8-foot.
Nice team shot.
Yep.
Not only the shooter, but the sweepers all playing a part in making that happen.
Yep. Big part of competitive curling is good communication between all four members of the team. And as expected, wasting no time, turning around in time to take that rock out for Team Christensen now. The second, Anna Bowman. Bowman.
That's better.
Bowman.
We'll keep an eye on Mike here through the broadcast.
And a very nice hit and stick. And Schomer again will be asked to hit that rock out. Lots of weight, and looks to be hanging out a little bit wide. Might have given it a little push outside. And I don't know if that rock's going to make it back. All right, it gets a tiny piece and just manages to move it about 3 or 4 feet sideways. So the yellow rock from Christensen is sitting, biting about a piece of the 8-foot, and that with hammer will give Christensen a chance to split the house and try to lie a second count.
Yep. Taking advantage of our opportunity here and jump in, put another one in the house.
And the second rock from Team Christensen, this is Anna Bowman. And she just needs to get somewhere in the top of the house, set a second counter, make it harder for the Fowler rank to do a double. So if you can get those nice and flat, even distance, that's pretty much the best you can do. Looks to be a little deeper than they wanted, but still going to stick around in the rings.
Not bad. A lot of distance there between them, Mike, so they're in good shape.
Yeah, that's a pretty long crosshouse double, and chances are they're not even going to go for it. They're just going to hit the rock they just threw, which is sitting as count in the back 8 right now. So Fowler looking for an in-turn hit here. And this is the vice from Team Fowler, Cora Farrell. Adam, you were mentioning earlier that this Alaska team is a pretty young team, so they've got a lot more nationals in their future if they can keep this team together and keep playing well.
Right. Kara, who's actually playing vice tonight, was playing second. Last draw I did was Monday night, so hearing from the coach that the two 13-year-olds, Kara and Ariel, in the front end, and then 15-year-old Naimi Schumer and 19-year-old Fowler. Caitlin Fowler. So that's a pretty young team, and so they're trying to get. I can feel they're trying to get Kara some experience at the vice position as a young player.
Good.
So they definitely. I mean, they didn't win, I think, the game on Monday, but they played pretty solid. So it's good to see a team rotating like that.
Okay. And Christensen turns around and makes a hit, but does not stick around. So they are still just lying 1 now in the top, fighting the top 8, top 12 right now, and Fowler will just take that rock out, try to keep this end nice and clean, and not allow it to from Christensen.
So a lot of curl even in the hits early on here, Mike, so it'll be interesting just keeping an eye on the ice. Of course, as soon as I say that, the Alaska team glides one by.
All right, well, another opportunity for Christensen to take advantage of a miss there from the Alaska team. And let's see if they can draw one in here and sit 2.
And in a minute or two, Adam will update you on the other sheets. All 3 other sheets have pretty busy houses, a lot of more rocks in play than we're seeing in our featured game here. So there'll be some scoring in all 3 games on sheets 1, 3, and 4, more so than we're seeing here.
It seems to be the unfortunate way things have been going for our broadcast the last few draws. We've had our featured sheet has been pretty much a hit game for the first 3 or 4 ends, while the other sheets have seemed to have a lot more action going on. But we're still going to stick with this game. We're going to bring you the action as long as we've got a good game going on here. And successful shot to the top 12. Christensen lies 2. And it looks like we're on Skip's rocks now. Looks like Fowler's first rock getting ready to come up here and shooting a hit.
Yep. Caitlin looking at an inside-out hit. Center out.
Given about somewhere between 10 to 12 inches of broom there. Expecting a little bit of curl, so probably control normal weight somewhere in there.
Yeah, I would think so. I would say so, Mike, judging by that ice.
All right, sweepers say it's got plenty of weight. They're holding their hand up saying it's got weight. It looks like it's coming over. Yeah, it looks like it's going to hit nose. Looks like it's got all of it.
Yep.
All right. Very nice. Don't know if she's line count. Might be second, but either way, Christensen's just going to take it out and try to sit 2 again.
Yeah, you can glance over the camera to see that. I think it's
real close. We think it's still Christensen line 1, but it's not going to matter here as they're just going to, like I said, take this out and try to sit 2.
So Corey here going with the other turn on the hit, outside in, pretty tight ice. She's away, and
sweepers are trying to hold this on the line. Looks like she's a little narrow, but they were able to hold it enough to get the hit. The question is, will it stick around? Fowler's going to get a chance to try to sweep it out, but looks like it will stick around and hold some of the back 12 foot there. And Christensen lies 2. Fowler with only 1 rock remaining without hammer now is going to look to try to throw a hit. Hopefully they'll get the double if she hits it in the right spot. And I think that's probably what she's going for at this point is, try to take the hit, hope they get the double, and if not, they're going to give up a 2 probably here.
Some great brushing by the Bauman sisters. They really did hold that. That was starting to cut pretty big there, Mike.
I think she was narrow from the get-go. I think they actually pulled that out. We're actually have a very good vantage point in the odd ends from our viewpoint up here on the perch, and it looked like she was inside that broom the entire way, and the sweepers really held that out on line. So you got to give your sweepers a lot of props for a hit like that.
Absolutely.
So sweepers watching this shot as it looks like it might be a little wide. They really needed to come over here just to get the top one. Ooh, barely got a piece of it. Is it going to be enough to get it out of the rings? Just barely. It looks like it is not counting anymore. So Christensen sitting 1 and now has a free draw out of the open house to try to take her 2 in the first end and move on up 2-0. We'll see if she can pull this off here. First end drawing is not necessarily a foregone conclusion.
But for those of you new to curling, that's really your goal when you have what they call the hammer. Last shot is to score 2 with that advantage. So Corey set up to do that here.
Well, considering her last shot draw to get the hammer here, hopefully she can just do a repeat performance.
Right.
She's dialed right in.
That's what they say about skips. Like your job is to be able to draw the 4 foot on command. So putting it in her hand right there, and the sweepers are watching it. They like it. They're going to keep it clean, make sure it doesn't pick up on any debris on the ice, and drop it right on the pin if they can. Looking pretty good from here. Yeah, I see no problem with that shot. That's going to be a 2 for Christensen, and a 2-0 lead going into the second end over Team Fowler. Just put it
right to the button
right
again.
To the button, yeah.
So I have an update on 3 if you want to.
We got action still in the first end. If Adam, you want to let us know what's going on over there on 3.
All right, on sheet 3, Schroeder, with her last rock without hammer, attempted a double, slightly buried by a guard, but came over just a little too much, wicked and didn't quite hit hard enough on the 2 yellow rocks. So it's going to be a draw for 3 by Haig.
Okay. So Team Haig drawing for 3 in the first end with their hammer rock.
Right, and over on sheet 1, we have Abigail Lindgren sitting 2 in the 4-foot, leaving a double potentially for 2. Single, double hit for 1 potentially as well, depending on how things go.
She doubles these out at him. It looks like she's going to score 2 here. She's got the 3rd counter in the back of the house.
It's just
on sheet 1. Yep.
All that matters there is the roll off the double.
If she ends up over curling on that, she could end up jamming and maybe only taking 1 or even giving up a 1.
And sheet 4, Ely and Solom.
Yeah, so we have Solom guarding up the 4-foot. There's a red rock in front of a yellow, and it looks like yellow's counting just on the button with red top 4. So it's going to leave. Right now, Hannah Ely is looking at the shot to call for Emily Walker, who's throwing skipped rocks.
All right, so back to our action on our featured sheet. The Christensen rink decides to come right into the 4-foot with their first rock, and
over on sheet 1, Shelby Sweet makes her shot, her double, very perfect, and takes 2.
All right, super. Again, back to our featured sheet. Team Fowler here looking to hit the Christensen rock that was brought into the house, and looks like they're going to get a very nice hit, roll a little bit over to the side, and sit in the side 8-foot. It's a good spot to be with hammer, but no guards up in front right now, so it looks like we could be in for another clean end here. Lots of hits.
Yeah, I think Corey, with her strategy, just took the free guards on out of play by drawing right into the rings with her first stone, and Alaska is just following to take stones out.
This looks to be a little down weight, and it's starting to curl on them. They may not stick around if they do get this out. Ooh, they missed it altogether. Over curled on them a little bit, and that's the risk you run there when you try to tempt your opponent into a hit game. You got to be able to make your hits.
That's true.
So, unfortunately, it looked like she was just a little down on that, and it over curled on him. So now Fowler with an opportunity to draw a second counter in, much like Christensen had in the first end. This is looking to be a mirror image of that first end.
Split the house and make it difficult for Christensen to steal or even cut them down.
Yeah, now it's just a question of executing at this point, because you figure they're going to take out anything you put in the house, and you just got to keep drawing it back in and hope they don't leave them with a double. All right, so it comes to rest back 12. And Adam, can you let us know what happened on those sheets 3 and 4 there? I think they just posted their scores.
Absolutely. So on sheet 3, Haig made her shot for 3. Nice draw. Over on sheet 4, Hannah Ely called for Emily Walker to throw a tap back. Just came up a little short of moving the yellow rock off the counting position. So it was a steal of 1 for Solom.
All right, excellent. And all right, back to our featured sheet, and a successful hit there for Team Christensen from Minnesota. And they sit 1 right now with a Fowler rock in the back 12. And Caitlin is calling for a hit on that counting yellow stone. Hitting stick will leave him sitting 2 again. So we've noticed so far that the Fowler rink seems to like to throw the hit up the middle, out to the outside, whereas the Christensen rink has been throwing the outside in hit more often. So you want to make a commentary on that at all?
Matter of preference. Generally on hits like this, the stones will run straighter outside in and inside out. When we say inside out, for people not familiar with curling, it's from the center line curling out. Outside in is the opposite, from outside curling towards the center. So obviously Corey and her team throw very accurately, and they're comfortable with that outside in approach.
Unfortunately for the Fowler rink there, they didn't get quite enough of that rock to stick around. They hit it a little on the edge, and it did spill out of the rings. It's still in play, but it's not counting, so that's going to leave the Christensen rink with a chance to take out the only remaining red stone in the house, and they do successfully. A little bit of roll, and they're sitting in the back 8 right now. Yep. 1 yellow sitting.
Nice throw by Anna Bauman.
I see. I'm not the only one that messed it up.
We'll keep each other honest here.
Yeah, well, at least we caught our own mistakes and tried to correct them. Yeah. We're all highly paid machines here, you know.
Exactly.
Doing the best we can. So, trying to trade hits here. Oh my, they're calling quickly for a sweep. Don't know if you can hear it over our microphones, but they are really emphatically calling for a sweep on this, as it is looks to be started a little bit on its way. They do get a piece of the rock, but spill out, and now we have an absolutely empty house. No rocks in play. And Christensen looking for a draw to the 4-foot. See if they can possibly set something up for a force, or, yeah, if they get a miss, maybe even a steal here.
So a conservative strategy, bring it into the rings and just trade hits here.
Well, I mean, they were.
Caitlin's very willing to go ahead and follow that, at least in these early ends.
Especially after getting a 2-point first end, I think you don't mind at all just playing this nice clean game. If you can force your opponent to one, that's great. If they take the blank, oh well, move on to the next end.
Yep. Or wait for a mistake, a miss here or there, and take advantage of that. And Corey certainly and her team are well schooled at doing that. Coached by Corey's mom, Linda Christensen.
Oh, Greg Eisenhower. So funny out there, buddy. All right, so the Christensen rink, not quite as deep as they were looking for. They were trying to get 4 foot, but they managed to come up into 12. So rather than hitting, Fowler decides to play a little more aggressive, and they're looking to draw behind. So we'll see what they do with this rock, as it's just coming into the rings. It looks to be a little hot. Do you think it'll stick around here, Dave?
I think it's going to slide deep here, whether she's going to be counter or not.
I think it's going to stop as counter. Yeah, barely in the back 12. It's just out counting the front 12 of the Christensen rink. So we're on.
Game on here.
Yeah, exactly. Second vice stones now for Christensen. And yeah, looks like we're going to get some action now.
So Caitlin switching her strategy here and really trying to be a little more aggressive and hide one behind that front.
Caitlin Fowler. So yeah, I guess both, both of them are.
Yeah. That's Corey. Caitlin's the one who.
Right, they're both actually being aggressive with this.
This looks to be a little heavy as well. The sweepers are watching it. It's starting to check up and starting to curl hard, but it's going to sit out, and it's going to be behind tee. It's going to come to rest in the back 4 foot, just to the left of center from our vantage point, and should be easily accessible by the Fowler rink. So I have to imagine they're actually calling for a freeze here. Oh no, backline tap.
Yep.
I would have thought they would come more control weight here, try to come across the face and roll behind cover, but all they got to do is get it out into the back 12, and so they can count their 2.
Well, that also leaves them some backing. They can, they just push that rock back, then they can use that. As Corey tries to remove it, some backing there. It gives them a chance for leaving the stone in play. So,
I absolutely,
call.
I absolutely agree with your theory on what they're calling here. I'm just surprised to see a junior team do that. Most of these junior teams seem to like to throw the high hit weight all the time. So
these junior teams are getting very well coached and schooled to be more aggressive.
Good.
In the old days, that's it. They just lace them up and fire away. But you'll see a lot more aggressive strategy out here, and which is good. It just it encourages more shots played in the game, types of shots, and higher scoring.
Not to mention, it makes it a heck of a lot more fun for us to announce.
Exactly.
Too.
And critique.
Exactly.
So, Dave, have you coached juniors before?
Yeah, I've coached in juniors from all the early 90s up through almost 2000. But both my kids played in juniors and played up to nationals level. So it's fun being out here. It's a labor of love, and there are a lot of coaches out here not only supporting their kids, but even people like Wally Henry's out here coaching the Jenna Haig's team. Wally's Debbie McCormick's father, and he's been coaching juniors for a long time, world class at it too. So again, they get very good coaching out here. And it shows.
So Fowler's tap ended up being a little wide and a little light, so it didn't fully remove the yellow Christensen stone. Christensen just turned around and made a successful hit and roll on that, and now lies 2 behind tee, so that'll leave Fowler with a chance to come down and freeze on it. And it looks like they're going to call something in front. It might not be a full freeze, but something in front of the yellow stones that are sitting in the back of the house.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. With those stones behind the tee line, Caitlin's got something to come down and sit on here. So still an opportunity to score in this game, this end.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have a blank in this end. There's definitely going to be somebody putting a mark up on the board.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be, I think it's all going to be line dependent on as to how far they drag this. I think they want to make sure they're behind cover, and if they're able to do that and freeze, great. But I think the line is much more important than the weight on this one. And rock on its way, and the sweepers do start brushing it pretty quickly after it crosses the far hog here. Looks like it's a little tight on the line. The sweepers are trying to hold it out. They're going to get around cover. Looks really good, actually.
Looks like a great shot.
Yeah, looks really good.
Nicely done.
All right, just gets about half a rock onto the button and a couple of yellow rocks behind it, so that's going to make it tough for Minnesota rink to try to get it out. They're actually looking pretty quickly at this run back of the front 12 rock.
Yeah, if she's going to remove that, Mike, that's really her only option. The way Caitlin put that in there, kind of half hidden, she can't get around that top guard and push it out easily.
Yeah.
So this is probably the higher percentage shot.
It's probably too risky to try to come in and pick that out. You run the risk of a jam and allowing your opponent to try to take it too.
Absolutely.
So, as long as she gets any piece of this rock, as long as she doesn't come across the face of it, she should be able to get that red out of there.
Corey's she's an accurate shooter. This is a good call and a reasonable chance at executing.
Looks pretty good out of her hand. Easy. Well, she did manage to run the red out of the rings. Did hit both yellows in the back on the way out, but didn't spill either of them. So now it currently is yellow Christensen sitting 4 in the house, and it's hammer rock coming up for Fowler. So she's hoping for a hit and stick here just to take her 1 on the open rock sitting in the 4-foot. But this is got to be a nerve shot for her. I mean, if you miss this at all to either side and spill out, you're giving up a 3.
Yeah, you never like to avoid doing this, coming up and throwing at 4. Always makes things a little more nerve-wracking, Mike, as we both know.
Nothing worse than trying to draw cold against 3 or 4 or having to hit against 3 or 4 and early on in the game. It's
she looks a little tight. They're starting to pound it already. So she needs to be on the nose, or very close to on the nose.
They got to go hard.
You can hear
it's
that
starting to
shrieking out there.
It's going to overcurl a little bit, and it does end up spilling out, and looks like she's going to give up a steal of 3.
Yeah, unfortunate. That was.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen here, and so the Christensen rink gets a steal of 3 and now leads 5-0 after 2 ends. We're still in our action on the second end in all of our other sheets. Adam, anything shaping up good on any of these other sheets?
We have on sheet 3 a draw against 2 for Schroeder from Michigan.
That's the hammer rock there on 3?
Yes, it is.
Looks like we've got the second skip stone on sheet 1 as well.
It's just for the team without hammer, yes, and that would be Shelby Sweet trying to protect her 1 sitting on the 4-foot with the yellow rock frozen to it, so prevent any sort of raise angle or any sort of open shot at it, which would actually be for potentially more than just 1. But that's a great little tap back. So now they're going to be sitting 1 on top of the frozen rock, and then with their stone sitting in the 4-foot.
Great shot by Shelby to really looks like make it difficult for Lindgren to take her off the edge of the pot there.
So back on sheet 3, Schroeder was a little bit heavy, went back 12, and just needed to be about half to 8 foot. So just a little deep, and gives up a steal or 2.
So that game's also 5-0 after 2.
Yes.
And looks like we're still on first skips rocks over on sheet 4 as well. And that is the Ely from New York versus the high performance Solom team.
So Solom being the number 1 seed in the bracket and Ely being the number 4. So that's the closest pairing or seeding we've got in our matches tonight is 1 versus 4.
So on sheet 1, Abigail Lindgren is looking to tap top 12 rock to just take 1, not even looking at the counting rock as something to go after.
She actually may be looking to come around that, Adam. I'm not sure.
That's very possible. I think I saw the vice mentioning or showing the tap, but certainly this could be for just the draw round with the final call.
Yeah, it's straight draw around. It's a little heavy.
Yeah, good line. Just the wrong way for the line to actually get the 1, but that's just a steal of 1.
So back to our action on our featured sheet. We've got lead rocks underway. Christensen came in with their first rock, and Fowler looked like they were trying to put up a corner guard, came in deep, and that allowed Christensen to take it out. So now Christensen lies 2, and Ariel Traxler is their second rock there for the lead from Team Alaska, and being asked to throw a hit on the rock near the button. Looks to be a good-looking shot on its way here. Going to get most of nose here. Maybe a little roll over in front of the other one. That'd be nice. Ooh, just across the face of that one. Does not end up hitting the other stone, but sticks around in the back 12. So leaves something for Christensen to actually needs to clear that out. Yep, they're going to take it out.
So back on sheet 4, Chelsea Solom throws a successful guard over top of the center of the 4-foot. The elite team had a red stone in the top 8. Which would be able to be raised for 2 potentially if Chelsea did not make her shot, but now that forces Ely to call the draw round to full 4 for Emily Walker, and that shot is now away.
So she just needs full 4 to take her 1 and move on to the third end?
Right, and tie the game back up.
Okay. So we're back on seconds rocks here, and looks like we're just going to be trading hits here for a little bit.
Sorry, I misread the lineups there. That's Miranda Solom is the skip. Chelsea Solom is the lead.
Sweeping for her sister.
She did a good job sweeping that stone, actually, at the right spot. Miranda was demanding quite a bit out of the sweepers on that one.
I'm sure they don't mind. I'm sure they've been confused with each other before. So sweepers are from Alaska here are really trying to hold this on line as it's, again, it's starting to overcurl on them. And they do remove the yellow rock, but spill out, so we have an empty house again midway through the third end.
So again, Mike, a lot of bend on those takeouts going from the center line out, and they've had a number of them over curl, and as they score them as half shots where they roll out.
Yeah, you got to wonder how much of that is the ice, how much of that is the rocks, how much of that is the release. Because a really clean release can make a difference between making or missing one of those takeouts.
Well, that's a good point. And this week, and the way they grew them up championship ice, not only in the U.S. but in Canada, they're looking for a lot of curls. So you do need good rotation on your rocks. At least 2.5, 3 rotations. Anything slower, and they really do cut big.
So back on sheet 4, Emily Walker's draw did not quite get full 4, and so that's a steal on all 4 sheets for the second end.
Wow.
So now it's just 2-0 for Miranda Solom over Hannah Ely.
All right. So it's still well within reach there. It's just a couple of 1-pointers. So Ely was trying to get something going in the third here. So on our featured sheet here, again, Team Alaska, Team Minnesota. Really just playing a clean third end here and just taking turns. Christensen drawing in, Fowler taking them out, trying to stick around, but seems to keep rolling out. So we'll see if they can get one to stick here. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. No, that one rolls out as well. That one actually hung a little bit on him.
That was pretty big weight.
Yeah, it looked like it did have
Kara
a little
Fowler.
extra.
Yep.
So maybe they're trying to compensate for the way that it's curling by giving a little extra juice. Still trying to figure out exactly the right combination of line and weight to get a stick in a nose.
It's dialed in, but that was a pretty firm shot, so not as much bend in it, of course. And that's been typical all week, Mike, that when they've been, especially the boys that throw pretty firm hits, they've been calling fairly tight ice and executing that way with good high weight.
One of these days I'll be able to throw that kind of weight. Maybe I need a couple more practice sessions with you.
In our dreams.
Yeah.
Bring the backswing back.
All right. Maybe I'll have to work on that, the lift delivery. So draw comes to rest in the back 4, back 8, somewhere in there. And Fowler asking for a hit here. See if they can get one to stick around with a nose hit here.
So, Dave, when would you look for maybe the Fowler rink to sort of play a little more aggressive to take a couple?
That's a good point, Adam. I mean, you're down 5 to nothing. You really got to start being, change your strategy, being a little more aggressive. And the first thing to do is to maybe try bringing the free guard zone back into play. Ignore that first stone that Corey puts in the rings and go up with a corner guard. So that's an option. We'll see if Caitlin chooses to do that or not.
Well, I mean, she had an opportunity right there with that rock behind T-line to freeze. That would have been an opportunity to be aggressive right there, but she chose the hit instead.
Yeah, that's true.
Freeze
being a tough shot, but it's still when you're, part of what your decision-making process and strategy is the score. And if you're down, then you have to be more aggressive. It's a risk-reward, but you have to throw riskier shots, but hopefully reward being getting 2 or more and scoring an end.
Yeah, I think my thought process on that is even if you don't execute the freeze properly, maybe you get a tap, maybe you come up a couple feet short, you at least leave a tougher shot for your opponent. They could jam, they could, get a little intimidated by the fact there's another rock in play and maybe play it too cute. It just maybe, gives you a chance to...
Agreed. You want rocks in play.
Exactly. You want to score that too, you need to put some rocks in play. You can't be playing these clean hit ends the entire game.
So Caitlin's not taking the bait here. Corey put one on top 12, and Caitlin's trying to draw around it. And with the ice bending the way it is tonight, that's entirely possible.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we're talking about as far as being aggressive. She, sees one that didn't make it deep enough into the rings, and now she's going to take that opportunity. I think much like she did in the second end to come around behind that.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's see if she can get a better result out of it for this third end. Unfortunately, it did come up a little light and a little narrow, and it crashed. It looks like it's sitting count, but soon to be removed at this point.
Yeah, Corey's got her sights set on this, on picking this stone out. I'm sure just either a nose hit or close.
I'd have to imagine she's going to want to stick right there and make that draw to the button a little harder.
Yeah. In terms of strategy, she's taking control of the top of the house here, and that will bode well for her, to close this end out.
I mean, the only downside to the hit and stick there is the rocks would be nice and tight and close for a double for the Fowler rink, and maybe let her off the hook here to get a blank.
I think she'd be willing to give up one for the hammer again. Again, she's up by 5, so minimizing Caitlin's chances of scoring more than one here. And Caitlin's looking at coming around that to draw into the rings, at least in the 8-foot.
Yeah. I mean, both those yellow rocks are sitting there for promotes. So at this point, you gotta try to bury one in there with your first skip rock and hope that they don't make the run back properly.
Yep. Agreed. Yep. Corey's in good shape. She's got 2 promotable rocks back right into the 4-foot or better. So Caitlin's got her work cut out for her here.
The one good thing that I like to see there is that the skip from Alaska, Caitlin Fowler, she was coming down the ice with a big old smile on her face, and the rest of the teams, they're still in good spirits, even being down 5-0 early. They're still laughing, and they're still out there competing hard. So it's good to see they're not frustrated and that they're still working hard to try to come back in this game.
And that's a good point, Mike. And I think they're keeping their perspective here. They're going to be back. They're a good team. They're young. They're paying their dues. But they're in the competition, and this game rewards experience. So being here and coming back the next time, having been through this experience, will really serve them well.
I think they were mentioning during the last draw about the Flippo rink and how many patches that he had on his jacket. Apparently, he's been to a few of these events. Also, I think he's also out of Alaska, so there's something to be said about been there, done that.
Exactly. Nice come around by Caitlin Fowler to the back of the button, but really buried fairly well behind Corey's 2 rocks.
And this is exactly what we were talking about, is putting the pressure on your opponent, changing who's chasing who in the end.
Yep.
And now Christensen rink now needs to execute a nice run back.
Well, you can see also that even with the higher rock on the other side, Caitlin looked at changed the draw angle from her vice's rock to come around the other side, and it worked out perfectly for her.
Absolutely, because that rock on the left side of the center line is really tough to try to push back onto the rock on the back 4 there, because of the way those front 2 yellows are angled. So she really only has the shot on the one on the right side of center to draw it, hit it straight back.
Yeah, much higher percentage playing off this rock. She can miss a little left or right of nose and still run that red rock off. So good choice by Corey.
This rock hangs it all in that line, though. She's just going to peel it off, and then that'll give Fowler a nice draw for 2.
Exactly. So Caitlin's put herself in position to score, but we'll see how Corey throws her.
Looking pretty close. It's just off the center line, and it needs to come over a little bit.
There it comes.
There it goes, and it's going to be a nice shot.
Boy, right back.
Wow.
Just beautiful shot.
Yeah, you really can't do any better than that. It not only hit, but it hit and stuck, and it's behind cover.
Centered on the button,
Yeah.
and they never put a brush to it, so very well thrown. Called and made.
A little intrigued by the shot call here. They didn't take a lot of time to think about this, and I'm a little surprised that Fowler looks to be lining up a hit, some sort of a double here.
Yeah, another option for her would have been to throw what she just threw, maybe with a little more weight and push that off the button. But here she's, I think both of those
top rocks are on the rings, yeah.
So at best, she's cutting Corey down to just 1 here.
I mean, do you think you can be slightly on the high side of nose and spill your shooter into the rings and out? I mean, that's
a tough call.
That's a really tough, tight shot, and
is.
I don't know if it's there. I think this is going to cut them down to 1 if they hit the double, possibly give up 2 if they don't make the shot.
Yeah, I don't think she's coming up enough to get this done.
I think she's going to give up 2 here.
Yep.
They might throw a biter bar on it, but I think it's 2. Yeah, and they're kicking the rock. So it looks like a steal of 2 in the third end, and Christensen will take a 7-0 lead going into the 4th. Adam, we're still in action in the third end on all the rest of our sheets, correct?
Yes, we're seeing a lot more guards, a lot more draw play on these other sheets. So I think even our sheet started the last of all the 4 sheets, but caught up pretty quickly with this clean game that we're seeing. So a lot of junk on sheet 1 and sheet 3, and we'll let you know how these skipped rocks go.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of discussion on a lot of these shots because there's so many more angles to look at when you have more rocks in play.
It looks like Mike on sheet 3. It looks like Schroeder has 1 touching the button with a lot of backing. So Jenna Haig is faced with she may be trying to just push that back a little bit.
I think given the score situation being up 5-0, actually a guard's not so bad either, and she may be calling more of the ice for that.
Just trying to force her opponent to a 1. Yeah, that's a strategy we've seen him put in play a couple of times this week so far.
Yeah, good point, Adam.
And much like the rest of the ends that we played so far, Christensen's coming right into the rings and going to try to tempt Fowler into a hit game. So, a little deep, probably back, biting the back 12.
So back on sheet 1, looks like Abigail Lindgren is sitting 3 within the 8-foot with potentially a 4. I can't really tell from here, but it looks like 3.
Looks like 4.
Or maybe 4. Now with Shelby Sweet's last rock without hammer. So it looks like 3 to me.
2 in the front, right behind the reds, and then there's 1 on the 4-foot and 1 in the back 12.
I think that left red outcounts the.
Yeah, we can't tell exactly from our angle, I think, but
Tough.
there's a couple.
There's 4 rocks.
Looks like a big score.
It's at least like a tie game coming out of this if Shelby's not able to change the situation.
That is one more rock. So Fowler's draw does sneak into the house, and it's going to sit full 8 foot. Unfortunately, unable to take advantage of the free guard zone again in the fourth, and that's going to leave Christensen the opportunity to hit again.
So back on sheet 3, that was actually an attempt at a tap by Haig, but came up, looks like a little too far across the stone and leaves a shot to draw for 2, but has to touch the button by Schroeder.
And a successful hit and stick by Christensen, and Fowler is going to ask for an upweight hit. So the strategy from Team Christensen seems to be working well for him as Fowler's trading hits with him.
Just an update on sheet 1. Looks like Abby Lindgren with a hammer is looking to draw for at least 4, maybe 5 here. So it looks like a pretty big end.
Yeah, Shelby Sweet's attempt at a draw around some of the rocks there, or freeze maybe to the one that was in the 4-foot, just came up a little late.
All right, and Fowler's hit was able to run back and take out the other yellow. It did spill, so Christensen still lies 1 in the back 12. And they will look to put a second counter in somewhere in the top of the house. Just finishing up action on sheet 3. Adam, you want to give us an update what happened there?
So the hammer rock for Schroeder kind of came in a little hot and hit a little thin on the rock that was already on the button and sort of tapped it to the back, giving up a steal where I think they were already sitting 1. So just a very unfortunate result. Just a little more curl, and I think it would have been at least 1 for Schroeder.
Unfortunately, broke Skip's rule number 1, and that's do no harm to your own end. So unfortunate turn of events there for Team Schroeder, and now they trail 6-0 after 3 ends versus Team Haig.
So over on sheet 4, we're seeing a successful draw for 1 by Emily Walker for the Ely rink. So that is now a 2-1 game.
All right, that gets them on the board, breaks the steal, and go to the 4th end and see if they can set up a steal. So while we're trading hits here, I actually was told of some very good news for the GNCC. Apparently there was a rather large event that was going on over the past few days. Dave, maybe you want to tell us what that was all about?
Yeah, a shout out to the Gert Messing rink from the Grand National, won the U.S. Senior Nationals up in Fairbanks this past week. Gert was playing with Dennis Mellerup, Don Nickel, and Billy Peskoff. And they did well. They ran through the round robin undefeated and went through the play-down. So they are the U.S. champs in senior nationals and will go on to the Worlds. So congrats to the guys. It's good to see that rink do well.
I know Bill's from Plainfield. Are all the other guys out of Plainfield as well?
Gert plays, and I believe Don play out of Ardsley, which is just north of New York City, mm-hmm. And I believe Dennis plays out of Plainfield as well.
Adam?
So on sheet 1, it was a successful shot for 4. So now that game is 4-3 in favor of Lindgren over Sweet.
All right, well, so that's good. We've got some tight action on sheets 1 and 4, and hopefully we can get games on sheets 2 and 3 here to get a little bit closer here. We'll see what happens as Fowler is now looking at 2 Christensen rocks in the back 8 and is lining up for a double. So we will see what happens here as she's calling for the sweep right out of the hand, and again this looks to be tight and over curling on them. They're really trying to hold it just to get a piece of this top rock. And jams, takes out the back one and sits 1 Christensen rock at the end of that.
So I think you're right, Mike. I think it's a combination of both the ice and maybe the girls starting the rock a little bit because they for the Fowler rink, they are seeing a lot of bend on their hits.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's not getting out to the broom. To the broom. Looks like they're just starting those a little bit with their hand when they release.
Yep, or just turning them in a bit.
Yeah.
So, and on this ice again with this kind of bend, you've got to have a good clean release and plenty of rotation to stay on line.
Yeah, this isn't normal Wednesday night ice for Broomstones. I think if you throw that kind of handle out here, you're not going to pay for it as much as you are tonight.
Nope.
No, certainly not club ice, that's for sure. So this draw from Team Christensen, much better than their last attempt. It comes up into the top 8 where they were looking for it and going to make the double a lot more difficult. So Fowler just calling a straight hit. See if they can get hit and stick and sit one somewhere in the top of the house. It'll be really close if they nose and stick this one, if they're going to outcount the one in the back 12. And Sweeper's watching this rock the entire way. Looks like it needs to come over. They may hang again on this one and spill. Well, they get enough to remove the rock, but they do spill out. So it's, again, still Christensen line 1 in the back 12. And again, the call will be a draw to the top of the house somewhere. And
pretty straightforward strategy
Yeah.
there, Mike. And Corey, I'm sure, was more than willing to just trade hits here, and hits and draws, and keep the house fairly clean. Not a lot of rocks in play. When you got a 7-rock lead, that's exactly where you want to be.
yeah, it really does make the strategy really easy when you get a quick early lead, and takes a lot of the thinking out of it.
Yep. And a team that can execute well. These girls are well coached and have been up at this level for some time, so it shows.
Yep, another nice draw, top 8, pretty much exactly where they wanted it. Just going to try to force Fowler into a 1 here. They'll be happy to just keep hitting all day. Again with an attempted hit, and the Fowler rink is sweeping it again right out of the hand. This one does look like it's going to get nosed. They're going to stick around here. Almost gets the double in the back, just sneaks it by. And really close as to which stone is counting, but that's not going to matter as Christensen's lining it up for a hit immediately. So Becca Funk going to put the broom down for Corey and look for a hit and stick. Keep the house nice and split open, sitting there too. Without hammer here in the 4th.
So a little change in direction here, Mike. Corey's going from inside out based on that rock in the back. I think that's the safer side to
Absolutely.
Throw from.
It puts your sweepers into the shot more because they can hold it on that line and prevent, whereas opposed to going the other direction where if it hangs out there, they're worried about that jam.
Yeah, she won't have to play for a crossover. It looks good. It's on track. She'll get a good piece of it, even close to nose. So very well
that
thrown.
center a little, but it's going to come over. Very nice, and it actually rolls over to line up almost perfectly with a 1 in the back 12. So Christensen again sits 2, and Fowler, who hasn't had a whole lot of pretty houses to look at so far this game, and same situation here in the 4th, having to come up against 2 opponent stones.
Yep.
So, yeah, I got to agree with Adam there. Kara Farrell was looking to try to convince her skip Caitlin to just draw in behind that rock and try to change the tone of this end and put some pressure on Christensen, but doesn't take that advice. And Caitlin says, no, let's just hit this, try to get the double here, and see what happens from that. So that's what they're going to try to do here as Fowler
Remove
settles
that
into the
front
hack.
stone.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're just going to try and throw it straight back, and if they get the double, great. And if not, maybe the jam in the back.
Yeah. Again, Corey is perfectly happy to let him play that shot,
Looks
that
narrow.
strategy.
That
It
looks
does.
narrow. Yeah, they got to go.
Well, Corey has been just about dead on with all hits, I think, this game, every time I've looked over.
She hasn't missed much.
She's not going to get the double, but she may stick around. Yeah, it looks like she's going to get a nice little roll here to the other side of the sheet. And we'll be counting 1.
So Corey's back to that outside in call, and she'll go right after this.
Yeah, the jam's
Shot
not
rock.
really in play anymore with this rock. Now that's so far over to the left side of the sheet. So really, whichever turn you're more comfortable with at this point is the call. Got lots of rocks in play over on sheet 1. Once we wrap up here on our featured sheet for this end, we'll try to get you a verbal update as to what's going on there. As the Christensen rink, with their final shot of the end without hammer, is looking to line up a straight hit. And if they can stick around, they'll be line 2 here in the 4th end. This looks to be a little tight. And the sweepers do get right on that. Looks like they're going to hold that out there. It will get a little roll to the inside.
Yeah, the
And
Bauman sisters can really put the brums down. They're good brushers and really held that shot. So
it definitely
nicely
rolled
done.
a good 6 to 8 feet, but it went mostly sideways. So they are line 2, and that's going to leave Fowler with really no option except to draw somewhere to the 4-foot and try to take their 1 and move on to the 5th.
Yeah, got to touch 4-foot paint here.
So, again, not an easy shot, though. I mean, again, you're drawing against 2 opponent's stones.
So Dave, would you like tightening up the broom here a little bit, maybe using the backing if necessary?
Yeah, not a bad call, Adam. I agree. You don't want to see it over curl, but she's really throwing more for the cold draw, so a little bit tighter wouldn't be a bad call either. But she's got to throw what she thinks she can make. So
I actually agree with you, Adam, but I like this call because there's something about putting it right on the pin.
statement
Yeah.
shot.
When you're a skipping, you want to put it right on the pin every time. So I think that's what she's looking for here, and the sweepers are on and then back off of it, so the weight's got to be really close. Uh-oh, let's hope they didn't oversweep that.
I could read some lips to say all there from Ariel. Then,
Oh,
so
I wonder why they were sweeping it early then.
Well,
I think she's fine.
looks perfect.
Right to the lid, right to the button. Great
And
shot.
as we were saying, sometimes you just want to toss it right under the pin and show that you can do it. And a successful draw to the button, and Fowler gets on the board, taking a 1 in the 4th end, and now we'll go to the 5th, trailing 7-1. But Dave, hopefully that's an opportunity for them to, get rid of the hammer, try to see if they can set up a steal in the next end and get back in this game.
Yep. Well, you can see the smile on Caitlin's face when you can draw the lid in a competition like this. That's a real confidence booster. So good for her. Called and made again.
Yeah.
Just a cold draw right to the button. So they're on the board, and she's smiling and happy, and good for them.
You know what? You get a steal here, or even if you hold your opponent to 1, you take that as a little boost, and you go into the 5th end break, and you try to come back out and see what you can do in the second half. I've seen the 5th end break do wonders for a couple of teams this week. It seems like they were out of the game, and they go in, they take a couple minutes to talk to the coach, they come out firing on all cylinders. So, anything can happen in these 10-end games on these championships. Well, you really can't take an early lead and just sit on it. You got to keep the pedal down on your opponents.
Absolutely.
So on our the closest sheet right now to ending their 4th end would be sheet number 3 with Schroeder versus Haig, and Schroeder is sort of in a similar position to Fowler, but has been playing a slightly different strategy, trying to draw in, trying to go behind guards. It just hasn't been working out just the same for Fowler, just with the Haig rink really being able to take the hits and find any open rocks and get rid of them. So right now it's Haig sitting 3 with her last rock, Schroeder having the hammer yet to come.
Looks like she's got a raise. Jenna's got a raise here and actually lined up to push it right back to the button, maybe even draw around it.
Yeah, either way, either tap or just draw around straight. As long as you get one in the top 4 over there, she'll be in good shape. So back on our featured sheet, once again, the Fowler rink having trouble getting those guards in the free guard zone. Sneaks into the house and allows Christensen to just go right at it. I really think that this could be the Achilles heel for this team during this game so far.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You'd really like to get some free guards in play here, just to, just to give yourself a chance to steal.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to be learned for all you young leads and seconds out there. You can never underestimate the power of a good lead that can throw nice guards.
Oh, lead sets the tone for an end, with no question, at any level of competition. From league play and club play all the way up through the top level of competition, they set the tone.
It's really tough to set up a good end for either a take or a steal if you don't have a good lead. So we're getting ready to throw skip rock over on sheet 3. The Schroeder rink has got their final stone. They're looking at 1 in the back 4. So I'll let Adam take over here as this rock's getting ready to be released.
Right, so the Haig rink's tap back for their last rock was a little bit deeper than they wanted to, so it leaves most of the 4, all of the top of the 4, open for a draw, but it is a draw against 3. So far, line and weight seem to be okay by the Vice and the sweepers. Maybe a little bit heavier, but it's looking good now.
It looks like it's starting to curl pretty hard.
She may have waited a little too long.
Is that gonna wreck?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was just
It's going to wreck, but
might cut 'em down, though.
But it's going to cut it down to, looks like a steal of
1 or 2.
Steal of 1 or 2.
It's pretty close. Measure for the second point there, probably. And they're still in action on sheets 1 and 4 in that fourth end. There's a ton of stones in play on sheet 1. I don't think there might be one rock in the garage. I think the rest of them are all in play. And looks like they're on the final
Lindgren stone.
Yeah, Lindgren
so
stone without hammer. That's a pretty crazy looking house down there. I wish you guys could see this.
Yeah, so it is a measure for the second counter on sheet 3. We're waiting on the official to come out for that one. But on sheet 1, it's they're looking for Lindgren to tap against 1.
It's looking pretty good
on the back of the button, and it looks
it's hanging a little.
Looks like the line's not so good, but the weight was great.
No, it just hung a little. So it's currently Sweet's still sitting 1, and they have a shot to try to get a second one in there with their hammer.
I really don't see a shot for 2 right now, which is a fortunate thing for Lindgren having missed that last rock. It's not an easy situation for Red to get one for a second.
I said it was their shot. I didn't say that there was a shot. So it looks like they're going to try to draw it around and maybe just get a piece of that one on the edge of the 4 and try to roll it in a little bit. It's going to be tough. They need almost full 4 in order to get the second counter.
Yeah, so, I'm not sure that angle's there, but it's worth a throw. I don't think
it's
a low-risk shot.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way they can give up 1 here, but I don't think getting a 2 is going to be in the cards for them. So back on our featured sheet here, we are looking at Team Alaska, looking to throw some hits here on the back Christensen rocks. And sweepers are on it pretty hard again. They seem to be having some difficulties holding these hit weight shots on line, but that one's good. Ends up getting a little roll back towards center, takes both Yellowstones out of the house, and leaves Fowler sitting 1. All right, we're finishing up our action over on sheet 4 in the fourth. Adam, what just happened over there?
So Miranda Solon made a nice draw against 3 red stones in the back of the house to take her 1. So now that is 3-1 in favor of Solon.
And it looks like the measure's complete over on sheet 3, and it was 2 yellows. So we have a steal of 2 in the fourth, and that makes it an 8-0 lead. Haig over Schroeder after 4. So our games on sheets 2 and 3 here look to be a little one-sided right now, but hopefully they can get back in this game here with a ticket of 2 in the fifth and get to the break and see if they can shake off some of the dust. So empty house on our featured sheet here with Team Alaska throwing.
Kara Farrell throwing her draw. Looks like Caitlin's called it to bring it in the rings.
I mean, these ends have got to be shaping up right in Christensen's wheelhouse. I mean, nice and clean ends with a lead like this. She's got to be loving this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it plays right to her strategy. Keep it clean, not a lot of rocks in play, up by 6.
Yeah, I mean, she can throw hits all day at this rate.
Yep, agreed.
Wonder if the coach from Alaska is listening in, is going to really get on his lead about getting those guards out in front of the house and trying to set up some steals and set up some bigger ends.
Well, we have one of the Alaska coaches back here really reacting very violently to the suggestions.
Yeah, I'm sure she's trying.
I think it's relatively inexperienced, and it's not in a bad way. It's just coming out here for the first time. It takes a week sometimes, and sometimes that's your first week in the competition.
Well, 13 years old, having coached kids at that level too. It's just it's a great experience just to be here, and this experience will serve her well in future years.
Is there a better coaching tool than playing in the national event?
Not at all.
Experience is more important than practice sometimes.
It's interesting, guys. I'm just looking at the edges of the sheets. I know Dave Stavetig was concerned about the humidity coming in here, seeing a little bit of frost build up on the edges. So we'll watch. We're almost to the fifth end break. We'll see how it holds up. Dave is the USCI Iceman, and we've got a big shed in here. We got dehumidification and heat, but it's a big shed and a lot of humidity today, and a higher temperature than we normally have to deal with this time of year. So we'll see how it holds up. Tomorrow will be just as interesting as well. It's supposed to be just as warm. The weekend looks colder, so thankfully for tiebreakers and playdowns, we should be back to normal temperatures.
Yeah, this has been an unprecedented warm spell here for the last day or so. The 60 some odd degree weather in this area in January is not a normal occurrence.
Nope.
No, you go from snow, I think, on Monday to 50, 60 degrees on Wednesday.
Well, not to mention the single-digit cold that we were having last week. So we haven't had that since 2011. It's been pretty mild over the last couple of years.
Well, ask the messing rink how they think about cold from up in Alaska, or the Fowler rink. I mean, they probably this must feel like Hawaii to them.
Yeah, we've certainly received our fair share of groans and eyes rolled when we complain about how cold it was last week with our single-digit temperatures, and they're all saying, yeah, -30, -40, that's cold.
Here's Caitlin throwing at a stone in the upper quadrant here. And I'm not sure. She may hang around in the hedge. Nope. Corey sweeps it off.
Clears everything out of the house in an empty house again. So Christensen going to try to draw one to the side of the 8-foot. And you think she'll probably blank this end if...
I think if she has the opportunity,
has the
she'll certainly blank the end. She doesn't need to take one.
No.
She's better off hanging on to the hammer last shot and trying to control the next end.
Yeah, get it back for the even ends, even though it's not very close right now. But taking it in the evens, coming right out of the break is an advantage.
Yep.
Even given any score, almost as long as it's close or in your favor.
More or less just getting us
Absolutely.
one in closer to the final, I suppose.
Well, we're speeding along right now on this sheet compared to all the others.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get yourself into a hit game. So I'm sure neither team is tight on time.
We don't have visibility of the time clocks here, but
No, they're all downstairs.
I would assume that's correct. It's been a quick game.
So the Christensen team's looking to draw one over on a side, somewhere in a 12 or the 8-foot. Make sure that Fowler has something that they need to take out. Not give them anything to hide behind, and looks to be a pretty good shot around T-line weight, maybe a little behind.
Corey and
All right, and as expected, Christensen will, Fowler will just try to take that rock out that was just thrown by Christensen.
So that's definitely a gap in experience when you have the defending champs, Corey Christensen's rank, coming at somebody from all the way from Alaska who really doesn't have the national level experience yet that are the same caliber, but definitely growing. You can see the shot making, the strategy getting better over the course of the week.
Yeah,
just from experience.
This rock looks to be hanging a little bit on this line. Don't think they're going to stick around. And they do spill out, so Christensen now left with the decision to either draw and take the one or just throw it through. So we're going to wait and see what she does, because it really doesn't matter where she puts the broom at this point.
Becca's standing on the edge of the 4-foot. It looks like they're throwing it through. Should just watch the line here and learn something from this hit, but it looks like she's throwing that through.
I would think if you were going to try to draw in, you would put it on the button.
Yeah.
So you'd put a little bit more ice out there.
Agreed. So they'll go into the fifth end break with a 7-1 lead, and we'll end up taking a couple of minutes here to stretch our legs while the competitors do. I'll ask Adam to give us a little update on what's going on in the fifth ends of the other three sheets. And we'll be back to coverage of our live action on sheet 2 in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Leo knows what I get, so just ask for that. So I don't think any of our commentators have been watching the comments online. So I will try to update you on these sheets. So on sheet 3, we are into our first vice rock for yellow, which is Team Hague. So that without hammer. So this is the very first vice rock of the end. They're sitting. It looks like second rock to the one red rock. I can't see the cameras here, but it's very close. But regardless, they're going to try and hit it, and it looks like a pretty good line for it. And hit, little roll, sit 4. They're just really putting the pressure on whenever we look over on the sheet 3 side. I think that Schroeder's been calling a good game, putting rocks in good spots, but just leaving the Hague rink enough of a sliver of hope to come in there, and they're taking out full advantage of anything they can see. On sheet 1, we have first skips rock. Last vice rock for North Dakota. And they are looking with sitting 1 and some center guards to go behind those center guards with hammer, but they're not going to get rid of the guards at this point. Try and push for a couple. Back on sheet 3, red. Schroeder was able to take out what winds up acting like a double at the moment, moving some rocks out of the 8-foot, sitting 1 in top in front of another yellow rock about 5 feet behind. So some backing, some possibility of a jam. But I like
so cool down there.
Yeah, that's not abnormal though.
No. It's like a good 15, 20 degrees cooler downstairs. It's loose.
All right, so first skips rocks now on sheet 1. The last vice rock for Lindgren rink. Just drew back 4 foot, so that leaves room for Shelby Sweet to draw in, and it looks like the sweepers like it. They're close. They're cleaning it. The line is. Needs some curl. But it's starting to break. This looks like it's going to be a nice shot.
Just heard Herb Kupchik call the 1 minute notification for the teams for sheet 2 for our featured sheet.
So a great shot by Shelby Sweet. Come down to freeze on that yellow rock that's there, really eliminating any chance for Lindgren to get for her to get a 4, but really limits the chances for a deuce as well. So on sheet 3, the attempted hit on the red rock looks to have missed. So now it is. Or actually, it looks like the red rock was replaced. So now it is a Hague shot again. Her first rock is skip to take out the lone remaining red rock in the house and sit potentially up to 4.
So Abby Lindgren on sheet 1 looking to draw through a port to for shot around a lot of cover. Probably get to the top of the button.
Right. This will be the third rock down that line.
She's got a great delivery.
Yeah,
just good balanced slide. Extend it out. See how this goes. The girls are pounding it the whole way.
I'm trying to hold that line.
Oh, the line looks perfect. It really breaks real late near the corner guard that's there, but they're cutting it very close.
No, it's fine.
But it's the weight. I think they just needed to get it there, and it's going to come up just top 12. So now that leaves Shelby Sweet sitting 1 with a potential. She's going to guard the other side, leave the tap, but potentially put in a second counter if it comes deep enough. Considering the amount of curl we've seen this week, anything can happen around that side.
She could even overcurl and tap the yellow in if she has the weight for it. You never know. It really depends on where she releases this.
That shot's there, though. She could get almost full 4 foot off this. So she's coming down the left side of the sheet, outside in, and there's a guard on the edge of the TV line, but she can, out in front of the rings, she could definitely get in there a good half 4 foot, maybe full 4 foot. So her shot's away. So our main announcer here needs a little vocal lubricant, so he put his order in. Oh, nice.
Oh, Great shot by Shelby again. Looks like she's now sitting 2
Wow.
with getting just about full 4 around those guards. It took a lot of ice near the boards, and sometimes you'd expect that not to curl as much, but it's a great line, great weight.
Especially on sheet 1 coming back away from that wall.
But you're thinking our regular club ice.
Yeah, I know.
Dave Stavik is on his way up here to club our announcer.
UNCA Icemen have done a fantastic job.
They have. We got, it is 5 to 6. As we pointed out in the beginning of this broadcast, there's 5 or 6 feet of curl, and Shelby took advantage of that and came around our guard and really did it. It was a great draw shot. So Abby Lindgren's got to do, on sheet 1's got to do a pretty tricky raise here to the button. But along the same line she just threw, so it's certainly doable.
So I want to get us back here to our featured sheet, and we're back underway in the 6th end. And apparently the coach got downstairs during the 5th end break and had a little conversation with the lead about keeping those guards out in front of the house. And we've got a nice 2 guard, a mid guard there, pretty close to center line, being thrown by Traxler from the Fowler rink from Alaska. Well executed, and hopefully this is the sign of good things to come for that team, and see if they can get back in this game, set up a couple of steals here.
So on sheets 3 and 4, we have hammer rocks coming down for both red teams to take 1. We get a successful shot by the Ely rink on sheet 4 to take 1 and be down only now 3 to 2. And on sheet 3, where the rock is away, it's hanging out a little bit for Schroeder. And it is going to make contact but roll away.
That's a lot of broom. So Fowler looking to line up another, hopefully another guard here. The broom's way outside there. They're looking for a lot of curl on this rock.
So after a steal of 1 on sheet 3, it is hands out for the Shakes. Our game is now complete.
Really?
That is a 9-0 lead, and it looks like Jess Schroeder had enough. She had made some great close shots. Just didn't quite work out with the results on all of them.
Well, that's an unfortunate result for Schroeder. But some nights you just don't have it, and rather than wear out your team, because you still have a couple more games to play, sometimes the discretion, the better part of valor, just move on and you'll get them in the next draw.
Yep, and that keeps Jenna Haig right up at the top. She was 5-1 going into this game, tied with Solom and Christensen at that same record, and that moves her to 6-1. So on the women's side, it's the bracket is separating. There are 5 teams that have really separated themselves from the rest of the field, and either at 5-1, 5-2, or 4-2. So after tonight's draw, we should get pretty good separation. There are 5 teams competing with those 4 slots.
So, but a quick update on 1 before we go too far is Abigail Lindgren was able to make a successful tap to take 1 against 2, facing really just 4 foot. She had to make a full 4 from a tap from the top 12. Very successful.
A really nice shot here from the Christensen rink. They came down and just a little tiny bump on the Fowler stone that was sitting on the button. So looks like Christensen may be sitting 1. I don't know. Either rock could be counting here, but Christensen's just in front of T, Fowler just behind T. And I'm a little confused, but it looks like Fowler's lining up to peel their own center guard here. It's coming out with hit weight.
She's
really
called for appeal.
She doesn't have hammer here. She's down by 6 points, and she's peeling a guard away.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what's going on with that, Dave?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what she's thinking. I'm not down there with her, but
it doesn't look like the coach over here looks like he knows what she's thinking either. So that might just be a little miscommunication, or maybe she's just not exactly sure what she's wanting to do here in this end. But
well, again, part of the learning process, Mike. You certainly learn from your mistakes, but Corey is certainly going to make her pay for that here.
Yeah. Oh, and splits it up too. So now they're lying. Looks like 3 now, because I think that one is biting in the back of the house.
Yeah, it looks like 3 stones for Christensen. So unfortunately, Caitlin lost her advantage, but with that top guard up there that she picked off, that was really going to help her. steal an end here.
Yeah, it's really too bad too, because the lead for the Fowler rink put up a really nice center guard, and they used it for the first stone.
Yep.
And then and then took it away. I don't.
Yep.
But like you said, it's a learning mistake. Hopefully coach will have some lessons to be taught here after this game.
It's a good teaching moment for him.
Yep.
Well, hopefully they can watch this video on mute later and give their own commentary and not listen to us. Get some good teaching tool out of that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, they got a flash there. Missed the yellow rock altogether, and Christensen now with an opportunity to draw a fourth counter into the rings. Just trying to figure out now where to put it.
Well, she's got a lot of options here.
Yeah.
So either that she's tapped her broom down, either over to the side where she's tapping her broom now, or up in front of that shot rock is acceptable at this point. I talked earlier, Mike, just about how the draw is separating out here with the seventh game that the women are playing. There are 5 teams that are up in the conversation and in the hunt for playoff spots, the 4 playoff spots.
So the way this works is that the 10 teams, they play everybody once, and the top 4 move on to the Page playoff, I believe they call it.
That's correct. And the teams are all seeded. For people, again, new to curling, the skips actually vote on the seeding of the teams from 1 through 10. And at this point, the top 3 teams, Solom, Christensen, and Haig, are all in the top of the bracket at 5-1 now. Jenna is 6-1. The other 2 teams are Lindgren, who's over on sheet 1 playing Shelby Sweet, and Sarah Anderson from Pennsylvania, who is the 6th seed, but she is at 5-2 right now. Played very well, beat a number of teams seated above her this week. So she's definitely in the hunt.
Got to say that I'm a little favoritism towards that team. They are from the GNCC, so we're kind of rooting for those guys.
That's true. Even her dad's one of the coaches, Wayne. I've coached with Wayne for a long time. Actually, the Anderson sisters are twins. They're the last of 5 Anderson sisters that have curled at this level. They play with the Duberstein twins from Wisconsin, and
you said 5 girls in that family?
5 girls.
And you know the father?
I do.
And you send him condolence flowers, I'm sure.
He's got quite a crew there. They're all competitive curls. His dream, and he may see it happen next year, is to have his girls curl at national level competition.
As a team?
4 of his daughters as a team. They actually played Sarah and Taylor, and their other sister Courtney played in the Women's Challenge out in Seattle and won a slot to go to Green Bay in a couple of weeks.
So is she not of age to do juniors anymore?
Courtney is not. She aged out. She actually played. Courtney, I believe, played here in 2003 at the Junior Nationals.
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken.
She was she a 5th on the
I believe
she's 2016?
I believe she skipped a rink here, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So just really quick, Christensen did draw another rock into the house and is sitting 3, and Fowler's looking to try to take the counting stone off the 4-foot. Although this rock does look to be a little hot and hanging a bit. They might get a piece. They do. And bumps one out. So now just Christensen sitting 2. But Christensen has hammer here, and
she's just going to ignore that red shot in the back and just draw in for 3.
It's really shaping up the way she wants it to. The end is pretty much completely in her control.
Absolutely.
And I don't really know what Fowler's going to be able to do here in order to try to get back in this game. So is this one of those times where maybe bringing a 5th into the game might be a good idea? Get him some time on the ice.
Well, that's a tough call. And coaches, when they have 5 players, I'll give you an example. Wayne Anderson has 5 players, and they switch at the lead position between Leilani Duberstein and Abby Suchlovich. But so he uses his team wisely and rotates. And then if you get somebody sick, there's always that advantage too of having someone who can step in. So if he does have, if the coach does have 5 players, it's a little tough sometimes to switch him in the middle of a game, but certainly he's got 9 games to play this week and can use that extra player to get them some experience up at this level.
I have to imagine that the Myers boys rink wished that they had a 5th player this week.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when the flu blows through,
Exactly.
and I've seen that happen in a number of junior nationals. That if you have a 4-person team, really puts you at an advantage curling with 3 at this level. You know, to have that extra brush in play is just it's almost a necessity. So you're at a real disadvantage when you have 3 players and only 1 brusher.
All right, so Caitlin Fowler here with her first skip rock without hammer, looking at 3 yellow stones they're trying to figure out what to do with, and is calling for just a hit on the one on the forefoot. I think she'd like to probably hit and try to roll over in front of the other yellow. Woo, we almost had a spill there. Hey, a nice double.
Well,
Almost got it out.
It's an effective double in some ways, in that at least is out counting the other stone that it was hit.
Yeah, it's the red stone is now sitting second counter, but it looks like Christensen should be able to double those reds right out. If she noses that, and she should be sitting 3, maybe even 4. I can't tell from this vantage point. The vice Becca Funk is sort of in the way. I can't tell if that yellow is biting on the. It is not. Okay, she just moved. But if they nose that rock, it should be 3 yellow at the end of the shot. And Christensen
firmly in control
Yeah.
here, Mike. Just
the way she's been hitting tonight, I can't really imagine that she's going to miss this by too much. You know, in the grand scheme of misses, you know, she might be slightly off nose as opposed to hitting it straight in the nose.
and the girls are on it. Nicely done.
You always know the shot's probably going to be made when they call the sweepers on, off, and on and off. And you know it's close.
Well, Corey's throwing well tonight. She's right on the stick. She's got a great delivery, good release, and she hasn't. I don't think she's missed anything tonight. So very well done.
No, that's got to be frustrating when you're playing against something like that. You know, no matter what you do, your opponent just seems to be making everything they throw, and it's got to be frustrating.
Well, it can be, but you have to recognize she's the defending national junior champion too. So she didn't get there by accident.
That's for sure.
She throws a lot of stones, practices a lot. I'm sure. Well coached, and it shows. But the girls from Alaska can learn a lot playing a team like that. You learn by playing against them, and hopefully they'll take a lot of lessons home from this. And
that's really the only way you
execution.
get better is to play better opponents. So,
looks like Caitlin's throwing a freeze here, Mike, in the back.
I think at this point of the
Shot
game,
rock.
in the 6th end, she really doesn't have much of a choice. I mean, you gotta do something here. You're looking at 3 opponent stones. I mean, if the yellow scores more than 1 or 2 here, you got to be thinking about shaking. And unfortunately, this rock is going to come up a little shorter where they wanted, and not quite on line. It's, I mean, it's not an easy hit. There's a lot of stuff to jam on in the back there, a couple of stones, and you could expect.
Well, the way Corey's
yeah.
throwing here, she'll play it safe, play to that outside edge of this shot rock. All she needs to do is chip it out. She doesn't care where her shooter goes, just don't jam it on the back.
I mean, even if she jams on this one in the back 12 here,
She'll
it's still
keep
going
her
to be
shooter.
2 yellow.
At least 2, yeah.
So
It's a nice draw, just not a great.
it
great
just did,
freeze
yeah.
attempt, yeah.
It just, she really, unfortunately, when you're this far down and you're looking at 3 opponent stones, you really don't have a choice but to lock it right on. If you leave any separation at this level, somebody's going to throw a really high heater on it and just bang it out of there.
No, your level of precision has to rise, or your level, like the amount of error that you can give up in your shots, shot making abilities.
It's certainly
just
reduced at
changes.
this level, absolutely. And this rock looks to be hanging
Hanging
little
a bit, yeah, it is.
I think she's going to get enough of it to get it out.
She
and
will,
take
just
3.
a little chip.
Yeah, she'll take her 3. So Christensen takes a 3 and is going to go into the 7th end up 10-1. I think the only question now is if Fowler wants to play the 7th end or if they want to maybe discuss shaking hands and calling it a game. I think that's really what they're talking about right now. So if we
Well,
move
they came a long way to play, so you can't blame them for wanting to play a little more. So
No,
that's
absolutely not. And we'll stick with this game for as long as they're going to play it. And whenever they decide that they've had enough, we'll try to flop over to either 1 or 4, and we'll try to go over to 4 there. I think that Eli Solon game is a pretty good game. So
Well, actually, they're both very close, but we have home, GNCC team versus high performance team. That's certainly within our wheelhouse for the people from this area, but we'll certainly update everybody on sheet 1.
All right, there's no need to point out my blatant bias as to which game I'd like to go commentate. But thank you, Adam. Yes, absolutely. That's probably the reason why I would like to go take a look at that game over there, is because it is a GNCC team.
So we're in Vice Stones on both sheets, 1 and 4, with the games both. It's 5-4 Lindgren over Sweet on sheet 1, and 3-2 Solom over Ely. So
so tight games on our wings.
Yep.
And we are going to start playing the 7th end here on our featured sheet. The Christensen rink looking to throw a rock into the top of the house, and they do manage to get into the 12-foot. So Fowler is calling for a corner guard.
Atta girl. So one thing to look for here is with one team leaving, one thing characteristic about Broomstones ice shed is as teams start to leave in a full draw like this, the ice changes a little bit. It tends to slow up, and tonight may be even more exaggerated with the high humidity and temperature the way it is outside. We may see a little change. It'll be interesting to see, especially in the close games on our wings here, if the skips pick that up. And so the team that picks up any change like that certainly has a big advantage.
And it looks to be a nice tight guard on the corner from
girl.
Traxler. So after the 5th end break, all of a sudden Traxler is dialed in guard weight, and we'd like to see if Fowler can set up an end here. It's a good start, that's for sure. So Christensen looking to, it looks like they may be just tapping this one in the top 12, maybe trying to get a second counter in there. Not really sure. It's either a draw around or a tap.
Looks like that direction, maybe even a split, who knows? She's probably multiple choice.
Well, either way at this point, she's just trying to put rocks in the house, and it's almost like the race to the 4-foot.
Fantastic shot by Abigail Lindgren on sheet 1, coming through a guarded port to raise and sit 4 after her first rock.
Ray's takeout, nicely done. She's and Abby's team is one of the ones in the top 5. They're in the hunt for the playdown, so they definitely need this game. She's facing games against Jenna Haig and Corey Christensen ahead of her here. So seeds that are high in this bracket. So she really needs this game against Shelby.
Well, you can look at that from two directions. You could say, well, we've got tough games ahead of us, so that could be hard. But at the same time, there are games that if you win, you're putting yourself into good position because you're beating the teams you're fighting against.
And that's a great point because she's already beaten the top seed, Miranda Solom. So, definitely Abby's team's curling well. And so they're in the hunt. They control their destiny, Mike, to your point.
And after commentating on Monday night's game, the Sweet Rink, I think it was, or maybe it was Sunday night, but one of these games, they were locked in just the wildest swinging game. I think they were
down 5 and they came back.
They had
right?
momentum going into the 5th end break, and I think they were up 2, and then it was just a complete reversal. They got down by 7 or something.
At least 5. I remember watching that game.
It was quite a bit, and then they stormed right back in 3 straight ends to go to an extra end. They wound up losing it, but yeah, I would not count them out. Not in any of these games.
Well, at this point, they're only down 1, and a lot of curling still to be played.
Well,
so.
a great draw by Shelby on her first rock to actually come around the center guard and sit on the button.
Definitely top button, and it looks fully buried. Although with the way this ice swings, it's hard to hide anything.
So just giving you a little feedback on our action here on our featured sheet. This end is finally setting up like it's in Fowler's liking here. 3 guards in the front of the house. Christensen's got one sitting back 4, but that's an opportunity for Fowler to draw one in and try to lock it down, freeze onto that stone and count 1. Looks to be narrow out of the hand.
That's pretty tight, Mike.
Yeah, it looks like she gave it a little turn when she let it go.
Yeah, the kiss of death on this ice where there's so much curl in it.
The shot won't be made the way they want it to, but at the same time, more junk up front. Not necessarily a bad thing at this point.
So back on sheet 1, Abigail, after her just fantastic first shot, just comes a little heavy with the tap attempt or draw down attempt. So that leaves Shelby Sweet with a somewhat or mostly open draw to a little more than full four for her deuce.
Absolutely needs to be full four on that, as there is a Lindgren rock in the top four.
Lindgren rock is full four. She's going to need that and a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's the same line she just threw, maybe outside a little bit more. Another rock outside, so she knows this line well, and should know this weight pretty well.
She's got the entire side of the forefoot there to go after, so, and nothing to really draw around.
Easy for you and I to say.
Well, that's why we're up here, not out there.
We haven't missed a shot
No.
yet, I don't think.
We shoot 100% from behind the glass.
So back on sheet 4, Emily Walker-Stone sort of hangs out just a little bit in an attempt to take out the counting of Stone on the forefoot. So that leaves Miranda Sullum with a draw through a port to take 2.
The sweet shot came up a little short, so they just take the 1. Just letting you know there. That's a tie game through 6, 5-5, going into the 7th end. So why did we play the first 6 ends? Let's just play 4.
Just so we could yak about it up here.
There's been a lot of nice shots made, so
Absolutely.
It's worth watching.
Both teams curling well. Lindgren and Sweet both curling well. That's a good game. Well played.
So possibly another coaching moment here in the making on our featured sheet. It looks like Team Alaska is bringing out the hit stick again.
Well, they've got the forefoot covered up front here, so they're not totally unreasonable. And they've got a counter sitting on the back of the button, so to get around all that and get in for a shot will be awfully difficult.
Wow, so they're throwing a lot of heat at this, trying to double out those yellow rocks and give themselves a path to the forefoot.
Yeah, Carol Farrell's
looks
throwing a
good.
big heater.
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah, move some things around. And that, as it stands now, it looks like Christensen's lying 2 in the forefoot and 1 on the outside 12. So they're probably just going to put another guard up at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll cover this kind of a Christmas tree arrangement.
So in our GNCC versus High Performance game over on sheet 4, Miranda makes a nice draw for her 2, so that is now a 5-2 game in favor of Solon from High Performance.
Okay. So just to recap, all tied up on sheet 1, a 5-2 game on sheet 4. We are complete on sheet 3, and a 10-1 score here on our featured sheet.
So Dave, can you describe for us how the High Performance camp works, or do you know?
I heard Graylin Cousins describe it last night. The USCA had selected a number of teams, I believe at least 2 women's teams and 2 men's teams, to attend a high performance camp earlier this season. And there was at the end of that camp, they did a lot of training and intense training with them, with some of the USCA coaches. And at the end of the camp, they had a play down. And the 2 teams that won that, the one on the women's side was Miranda Solomon, on the men's side was Corey Dropkin. And the advantage of winning that was an automatic berth into the junior nationals here. So it's that, I believe, comes more from Olympic funding and Olympic push to really promote high performance coaching and curling. And that was the USCA's program to do that. So congrats to those 2 teams for doing well. And there's some other teams here that are up to the task as well. It's not like those 2 teams have set themselves apart. There's some others that are right in this hunt for the play down. So good program. It's an investment in from Olympic money and funding to really help these kids learn and grow.
Well, it's nice to see the U.S. Olympic Committee is putting some funding towards curling, because it's only been an Olympic sport for a couple of Olympics.
Started
now, right?
in '88 in Calgary.
Yeah.
As a demonstration sport,
and it
then
became full-fledged
in '92.
Right?
That's correct.
So it's good to see the U.S. Olympic Committee is putting some funding towards the future of U.S. curling.
Yeah, not just really Olympics, but just world level performance for the U.S. is just something that it's good to see.
Well, the Olympic Committee is all about medals, and
Right.
that's really where their focus is. The USCA, takes that funding and and really tries to do as much training as they can. It's not unlimited funds, as a lot of competitors know, but it's certainly something. It's a good effort.
So this is going to be Kara Farrell here, looking for a bump shot. They're sitting one in the top 4, which is third count right now, and Christensen just threw a guard up in front of it in the top 12. They're looking to try to bump the guard from Christensen into their own rock and promote it in, but it looks to be hanging a little bit on him. Just going to catch a piece of the Christensen rock and sort of angle raise it in towards the forefoot. It actually ended up raising Christensen in for a third count, it looks like. So,
Kara's first rock did come in, and it is that red that is at the top of the forefoot, bumped back one of those yellows. So
yeah, I mean,
gives him an opportunity still.
She does have a rock there to do something with, but the way Christensen's throwing, she just keeps guarding this up and making it really difficult to try to get at that rock.
Yeah, the front of this house is getting pretty busy, so it'll be. She puts a good guard up here. Caitlin's got her work cut out for her. There are a couple of reds on the other side, not easily promotable, but certainly possible.
There's a lot of angles going on there.
There's some in-offs, although the girls don't throw hard enough to throw those kind of big shots. But
some of them do.
That's true.
I think Corey could probably give you a pretty good.
Yep.
So.
And we haven't seen them even try like the really upweight hits on this team even.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need to throw those.
Nope.
It's nice to have it if you do have it, but you don't really always need it.
That's more characteristic of the boys, throwing that kind of weight, nostrils flaring and really hammering away.
I compare it to golf. You know what they say: drive for show, putt for dough.
That's true.
So you can throw the big hit if you want to impress your girlfriend, but sometimes throwing that draw to the forefoot's more important.
So Corey's guard hung out there, and that shot's available for Caitlin now to come down and bump that back into the pot there. She's got a huge pocket to work with, so some room for error, in terms of direction here. She's got some potential to really push this back in.
Right, you can see that she adjusted the broom a little bit from Kara's second
so,
round.
Yep.
Are you thinking this might be a little hit and roll over and bump themselves in further, or just a straight bump on their own?
I think they just need to tap theirs up. I don't think hit weight really does them any good. It's just a back 4 weight is fine, and then just control the direction of the sweepers.
So just a heavy draw to try to lie one in front of cover then?
No, that's to really bump the red back into the pot.
Yeah, and sit that one right in front of those other rocks behind it. Maybe I didn't use the right vernacular. In my mind, I knew what I was saying.
I agree. I could see that.
Oh, it's narrow.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. They're on the mess in front here.
Oh boy.
Looks like they may even raise a Christensen rock in here.
Oh boy.
Well, are they going to get it this way?
Nope.
Nope. Not quite enough juice to bump their own, but that red rock sitting alone in the forefoot is surrounded by a sea of yellow.
So another good lesson, teaching moment too for the kids is, and the experienced teams pick up on that. With ice as swingy as this, they get more aggressive with their sweeping in terms of their line calls and all, because they can always pull back, pull the sweepers off, and have the rock finish.
Yeah.
So some kids are more conservative with their calls, and the rock starts to curl, and it's too late.
Yeah, you absolutely can't wait for a sweep call on swingy ice, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. We learned that lesson a couple of weeks ago. These are Broomstones rocks here, and for people new to the broadcast, these are our own house stones here. They are gray Trevor running surfaces from Canadian Curling Stone, but we scratched the running surfaces a couple of weeks ago according to how they like to rough up the surfaces, tried to equalize all the stones. And we had a lot of curl that first night. All three of the announcers here were out there curling that first night, and the stones were curling sideways.
Yeah, we played, I think, Dave, you and I played in that first draw with those
We did.
rocks, and
Yep.
it was just, something that you just had to see to believe how much curl you get on a hip.
Well, in our club ice, we're used to fairly straight ice and throwing fairly low rotation, and that was the kiss of death with those stones in that condition. They've since broken in. They really do seem to be curling well. I've heard no complaints about the stones. Normally in a national championship, the USCA would send their stones, but they were out in Seattle for the Women's Challenge.
And they're on their way to Green Bay now, right?
They are on their way to Green Bay. They couldn't get them here in time. They could get the handles air freighted, but shipping this kind of weight on an airplane is too expensive. Timeout.
Calling a timeout here.
Caitlin wants to talk to her coach. Who's going here? The coaches are drawing straws. Two Alaska coaches are drawing straws to see who's going down to offer words of wisdom and advice to the girls.
I think they might have sent him with a bucket to bail the boat out.
And it looks like Leland Rich drew short straw. So Leland Rich, we got to give him his props here. Leland's well known in the USCA ranks, and he's on his way down the boards there to impart his wisdom. He's only got a minute to get down there, and Leland's not hustling. You got to get him. That's it. Yep. He's getting a lot of insults from the Alaska contingent up here in terms of how quickly he's moving. So
apparently they can time his speed with a calendar, is what I've been told up here.
Well, fortunately, the girls have a lot of time on their clock, so they're.
Well, they do have glaciers up in Alaska, and I guess that's where he learned his speed from, according to
glacial speed, according to
other Alaska coach.
Well, while we're having a conversation about the shot at hand here for the Fowler rink, we should take this opportunity to thank our sponsors that are helping to make this entire event possible. The gold sponsors for our event this week, Dunkin' Donuts of Lexington, that's been providing all the food, beverage, and coffee for the fans and the players here. They've supported the nationals that we've had last year as well as this year. Also, Whole Foods of Wayland, they're on Route 20 in Wayland, is providing lunches all this week for the participants, and I think they're taking care of the dinner on Saturday as well. And Brooms Up Curling Supplies, who has been an event sponsor for this event and many other around the United States. They are a USCA sponsor.
Right, and they're also sponsoring the U.S. Nationals in Green Bay coming up, and the NBC Sports broadcast even, I think, as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, Brooms Up has just been a great supporter of curling and the USCA curling well. They're just a fabulous sponsor.
When you're in line for some new curling gear here at the end of the season, think of Brooms Up Curling Supplies then for your all your needs.
So Leland Rich is getting tossed off sheet 3, taking too much time. He's been removed by the official, and the girls look like they're playing a raise here on an outside red rock. Back down off the inside.
There's going to be some rock.
Caitlin she doesn't have a lot to work with here, so this is going to be just a little outside of nose to push that down and off the inside of a yellow rock on the edge of the floor and roll over to the pot.
Yeah, it looks like red is sitting the 4th counting stone right now, and yellow is 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, maybe even 7 as well. There are lots of yellow stones all around the house, and frankly, this is the way that the Fowler rink needs the end to be. They need stones in play. They just haven't been able to quite get one that's counting yet. So hopefully they're able to get some action with some bumps here and see if they can get one in there and count.
Stay close, girls. Don't let it. See,
Did they let it over curl on them?
They let it over curl on them just a touch.
That's too bad.
That's too bad. That was again. There's a case of you need to be aggressive with your sweeping. It can always call off later on. That wasn't a big weight. It was a control, quiet weight.
So I could see some discussion in the chat about as we brought up the Olympics, when curling was first in the Olympics back in the 1920s. Well, that was quite a different game. We have this pristine ice and these pristine stones here. That was about 6 teams, I think, outdoors and 18 ends. So we've come quite a long way.
That's true. That's true. The game's been away for a while
these days.
Just want to break in real quick here. We are seeing shakes here on our featured sheet, so the game will be ending here with Christensen defeating the Fowler rink from Alaska in the 7th end. So we will be bringing you over to the game on sheet 4 between the high performance team, Team Solom, versus the rink out of New York, the Ely rink. So
any chance we can switch back and forth, Mike? I don't know.
We're going to get you. We're going to get over to 4 first, and we'll try to get the cameras set up over on 1 so we can switch between those 2 games.
Good.
But we're going to start on 4 for the time being, and I'll let you know once we've got the cameras set up to go over to 1.
We've got teams both on sheet 1 and 4 that are in the playoff hunt, so we'll do our best to keep you informed of both of those games.
We're actually going to take now that the game on 2 is over, we're going to take those cameras that are dedicated for sheet 2 and reposition them over for 1. It'll take a few minutes, but that'll give us the ability to flip-flop between the 2 games as things unfold.
Right, so right now we're actually at Hammer Rock for Abigail Lindgren on sheet 1. She currently has one in the back of the 4 and is looking to...
She's looking to remove a red rock on the back 12, Adam,
Right.
to score, it looks like 4.
I think
if she
that's
makes this shot, she scores 4.
I think the risk reward is definitely there, and
No
she's going
question.
inside out here, which I'm not sure if I'm not sure which one is best for her because it looks like she can go either way. It's just
Probably the way this lays out, yeah, it looks like she has a choice. She's picked the inside out line, and we'll see if.
I think
how
I
that
think that's
runs
probably
for her.
good because if they do chip that red, hopefully it's on the. This might be more likely to be on the inside here and push it away from the house versus towards the house and raising another one in.
Yep.
And Ely just made their hit and stick for 1 in the 7th end, and now trails 5-3.
Yep. Oh, and Abby just picks a rock on a guard up on top, just missed getting through. She'd gone through that port, she would have had that back 12. So,
It was
tough
touch
line.
heavy, touch wide on that, and just picked a little piece of the guard. But they do take their 1 and go into the 8th end with a 1-point lead. So tight games on both of our outside sheets here on 1 and 4. We have a 1-point game on sheet 1 and a 2-point game on sheet 4. Both games entering the 8th end. So we're going to start with our coverage here on the Ely Solom game, and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on in Sweet Lindgren. Right now, in between ends 7 and 8 on both games. So a little time to sit and contemplate what's happened so far.
Well, we have the Christensen rink up here.
Played a great game,
Yeah.
in control. As the score shows, the whole game they shoot well. They're really, build momentum for a run into the playoffs here.
Yeah,
So
they're really showing that they were definitely national champions last year.
no question. Yep,
Worthy of that high
seeding,
high seeding,
absolutely.
So, as a coach, you gotta expect there's not a whole lot you can complain about with that kind of a performance.
No, you've got to let those go. There's not a whole lot to critique when they played that well. They executed well, sound strategy, just and a lot of that's a reflection of hard work and practice they put in to get to this point.
So underway with our action here in the 8th end on the Ely Solom game on sheet 4, and lead from Team Ely throws a nice center guard. It's a long guard, but it's still right on the center line, and needing a couple of steals here. They're down by 2 without hammer, so setting up that center guard is the right call there. And Solom looking to try to draw one into the house. She jumps out to try to help with a sweep there, but it looks like it's going to come up a little bit short, and a very wide corner guard. So Team Ely from New York with a chance to either draw one in, or I'd even put up another guard
She's
here.
called for another guard,
Yeah.
that's just patience, and it will pay dividends. You'd like to line them up, so this Solom rink is very capable of throwing peels, so if you can line your guards up to prevent them from peeling them both, that's a good, very good strategy.
You got to imagine they're probably going to be playing this steal game for the next couple ends here.
Well, they're down 2 and they're playing in the 8th end, so they have to play that steal strategy.
Right, just an update on the score there. It is 5-3 currently in favor of Solom, and Solom does have hammer this end. And on sheet 1, it is 6-5 with Lindgren in front and Sweet with the hammer.
So 3 ends left on each sheet. Tight games. Lots to talk about, hopefully. And another successful guard thrown up by Team Ely. They have 2 guards very close to center line. And looks like Solom's going to try to draw one in here behind the corner guard they just threw.
Yeah, I think Miranda's called for her sister to draw one in around that corner, and this one certainly got a little more steam on it than their Chelsea's first one.
Looks like it might be through, huh?
It might be back 12.
No? It does sneak out.
Just sneak through a big brush.
So Hannah Ely ends up sweeping that just hard enough to get it out of the rings, and it counts. So now for Abby to draw one here to the house behind.
Work or?
I think draw today was a 4 o'clock draw.
Yeah.
We're good now?
Seems like they were.
Have you guys figured how to do the 2 games?
At once?
You have to do 2 games at once. Part of the deliverable.
We figured out how to talk about them, but I'm not sure the cameras are there.
They have to do. They have to have 2 production studios. Otherwise, we're going to be showing one with a booted up system because we are required to show both games. We're not going to go.
Hopefully we've resolved those technical issues and we are back running live here.
Yeah.
The Ely rink is still trying to throw guards up front now and set themselves up to try to steal. This rock looks to be coming up right near the top guard. Excellent weight. Comes to rest as a nice center 3 guard.
It has to be done. We have to do it. That was supposed to be deliverable. You remember that? We were arguing about it at the meetings.
So at this point right now, Solom just trying to keep the front of the house clean and is looking to peel off that center guard that was just thrown.
Yeah, Miranda's trying to keep that top clean. She's got the hammer, so obviously wants to keep access to the 4-foot.
Especially with that rock, sitting on the edge of the 12-foot over there at the side of the house. She's got that rock in the house there, so she could score a deuce just by getting one anywhere else in the house. So you got to imagine she's just trying to keep the front of the house clean so she can draw in with hammer here and take her 2.
Absolutely.
At this point of the game, a 2 out of Solom would probably put this game out of reach for the Ely rink.
Yeah, that's up for and curling against the team of this caliber is tough. Ooh.
Hit that a little thin. Just enough to get it out of the rings, but that was a lot thinner than you expected it to be, I'm sure. So now that we're getting closer to the end of this end here, they're starting to abandon the guard, and they're looking to try to draw in at this point. They've got a guard sort of midway up the guard zone over near the sweep line, so they're going to try to draw one behind at top 8 or top 4.
Yeah, not a bad strategy. Another option would have been another center, want to invest another stone up there. But these girls from the Solom team aren't missing, so counting on a nose hit to leave a guard up there is probably little chance.
Yeah, well.
So this is a good strategy by Hannah and Emily to come into the rings, outcount.
Just had a visit in our broadcast booth here by one of the tournament chairpersons. Yes, Jennifer Leichter was just up here talking about the broadcast stream and some things moving forward in the week. So continuing to make improvements even during the middle of the event. It's just the way we roll here at Broomstones. I want to make sure that this is the best event we possibly can make it for the competitors and the folks at home that are trying to watch. So getting close to the 10 p.m. hour here on the East Coast and still 2 games underway. Right. Solom rink right now looking to try to take out and a very nice shot. A little hit and roll. Don't know if that's going to bury, but sitting top 12. So now Solom lies 2 in the 8th end with hammer. We're on Skip's Rocks, I believe, for Team Ely. Is this Emily Walker's first rock?
It is. That was Vicky Persinger who just threw that hit and roll. So Solom laying 2 here and in great shape because the house is the center of the rings are still open and available. So we'll see what Emily looks like. She's going to try and draw one around.
Yeah, I think they're throwing that same
top
shot that Hannah just tried to throw and just try to bury something. I mean, at this point, you need to steal here because if you give up a 1 or a 2, it's almost certainly over against the Solom rink.
That's hanging out. I'm not sure.
It's a little heavy
it
too.
Looks hot. Yeah.
That's going to be back 12 at least. That's
right
all the way
through the rings.
Unfortunate miss there from Emily Walker, and that will leave Solom with now an opportunity to draw a 3rd counter into the rings.
So, a recap of our current action on sheet 1. It's currently 6-5 in favor of Abigail Lindgren over Shelby Sweet, and Shelby just throwing a nice raise to sit one counter with hammer with her first rock. On sheet 2, the final score was 13-1 in favor of Christensen over Fowler. On sheet 3, it was 9-0 Haig over Schroeder. And our feature sheet right now, the one we're currently covering, is on sheet 4, and the score is 5-3 in favor of Solom over Ely.
Adam, I'd actually like to see if we can get our cameras to switch over to sheet 1, because right now we're on the final skips rocks for both teams. Lindgren right now is looking to try to do a hit here on the counting stone, maybe even a double. Sweet is currently sitting first, third, and fourth counter. So there's a potential here for a big end to happen, depending on what happens with this Lindgren rock. So let's stay here for the rest of this end if we can. On sheet 1, yeah. So this is Lindgren's final stone of the end without hammer, trying to take away a Sweet counting rock.
Here it is.
So shot's on its way now, and Sweeper's dusted off a little bit, but they're sitting watching now. It looks like it may be hanging a little bit on them.
That's about perfect.
Yeah, they hit and stick perfectly and are now sitting 1 and 2. And it's going to be very difficult for the Sweet rink to try to double those out. I don't really see a chance for that shot.
I think she's got to draw.
Yeah, just drawing for the 1.
Our window here is starting to fog up a little bit right in front of us upstairs.
It's the hot air going beyond the mics here.
So, yeah, she's decided that the 2 is not going to happen, and in a close, tight game like this, just draw for the 1, tie it up, and go to the 9th. She does have the hammer in the even end, so that's not a bad choice.
Just a quick update on sheet 4, Mike. Emily Walker's getting ready to throw her last shot. They're without the Ely rinks without hammer. Solom's got 3 in on the 12-foot. She's got to come through a port and hide. So tough shot here.
And this is the hammer rock on its way here. It's just coming across the near hog.
On sheet 1 with
on sheet
Shelby
1,
Sweet.
exactly. And looks to be pretty good here. I think they make that shot, and they're tying it up. They did.
Right to the
That's
button.
right on the pin.
Yeah, dropped it right on the pin. Tie game going into the 9th end at 6-6.
And Emily's shot's coming into the rings here.
We're gonna swing back over to 4 here with our cameras as Emily's rock does come to rest in the top 8. It's sitting count, but it looks like it's visible.
She's pretty exposed here. I think she's got probably at least 2/3 of the rock showing.
This could be for game then.
Yeah, you got to imagine if Solom, even if they hit and spill here, taking 3 is probably going to finish this game up. So depending on what happens here with the shot, we'll probably be swinging us right back over to sheet 1, but we will keep it here on 4 until this end is over.
You can see the angles of
I'll take one.
She's got more people up here. Are the windows closed?
All right, so the hammer stone from Solom on its way. The Sweepers are trying to keep it online. And now just a clean. They like it. And a hit sticks around, and it looks like a 4 for the high-performance team, Team Solom. Ely is looking at her vise, trying to decide whether or not the glove's coming off for the shake or not. And they're having a little discussion about that right now. Yep, glove's coming off. So that's going to be the game there on sheet 4 between Ely and Solom. Solom, the high-performance team, takes the game after picking up a big 3 in the 8th. Final score over there
4.
was 8.
It's 9.
Oh, that was a 4.
9-3. She picked up 4.
9-3. So only action left is over on sheet 1. So we'll try to get our cameras over there, and we'll pick up the action in the 9th. Just getting started in the 9th end.
So again, Mike, to our point earlier about the Broomstones facility here, now we have 3 teams off and just 1 playing out here. and that can definitely change the ice characteristic. They've really got to watch for the ice slowing up a bit and seeing if the curl changes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is a very important game for the Lindgren rink to keep pace with the other 5-1 teams that were on the sheets over here that all won their games. The Christensen, Hague, and Solom rinks all are now at 6-1 after winning their games tonight. So with the Anderson rink at 5-2, Lindgren really needs to keep pace here by winning this game to keep them in a tie for fourth place.
Yeah, good point, Mike. It's a critical game for Abby's team to keep up here. So and it's no give them. Got a great game.
No,
tied, 2 ends to go. So
yeah, you can't ask for more tight action than this. So, in this round robin event here, with you play all the teams once. There's only 9 games. So after this is over, they've only got 2 more opportunities to put a W up on the board.
So Abby, she and Shelby were looking at that second rock throw, and it looks like it's biting the rings, and she's going to go remove that.
So a nice peel of that top red rock, but nothing more.
So apparently the weather conditions here are not just affecting the ice, but they're also affecting the announcing booth too, as we need to break out the squeegees here and get the fog off the window so that we can see what's going on out on the action on sheet 1.
Well, we got a lot of people up here in the third level, in addition to the hot air steaming over the 3 microphones.
I think a lot of it has to do with the teams that have come off the ice. They all want to come up here to watch the game.
Exactly.
So there's definitely a few more bodies up here in the loft area for this final couple ends here, watching the Sweet Lindgren rinks finish up. Currently, right now, we're looking at Sweet without Hammer, line 1 in the back 4, and just completing a draw to the top 12. And Lindgren looking to try to hit that and roll off to the side.
So smart move by Abby, taking the top stone and rolling over to get a biter on the other side of the rings.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Lindgren's just trying to set up a deuce, but, if she can't set up a deuce, maybe leave herself available to blank here if she can. Has control of the game right now with the hammer, but it isn't an odd end, so really, if she can't take the deuce, she'd prefer to blank here.
Exactly. You'd love control. Tide coming home with the hammer at the last end, but we'll see how this end shapes up. Shelby looks determined not to let that happen, so looking to force, at minimum, force and have her take one, but she's playing it like a steal too.
I think you don't really have a choice right now. You have to play this as a steal, and you steal 1 in this end, you're going to be looking to steal in the 10th as well.
Exactly.
You give up a 1, then great, you've got the hammer going home. So either way, you're trying to steal or force a 1 here.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Looks like both of these last couple attempts at this guard have sort of just hung out on them a little bit on the outside of that sweep line.
Yeah, at this point, I think that they're happy just to make sure that it's sitting second count and just get it into the rings. And as long as it's still plenty of distance in between the 2 rocks, making it harder to double, I think that's more what they're concerned about as opposed to the line left to right on the sheet. So just barely getting into the 12 foot's exactly where they really want to be right now. Make that double harder.
Nicely done. Nice double.
And of course, as soon as I say how hard that double's going to be, they just go ahead and throw it. So and make it. Yeah, successful shot from Lindgren.
Abby's sister Emily threw a nice double.
And now the Sweet rink going to turn around and just take that rock out.
Right. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt the Sweet rink for a blank either, and that they're just going to have to try to steal all out in the next end if they have to.
Absolutely. I mean, a steal in the 9th or a steal in the 10th is still the same result for them. So a blank is not the worst thing in the world for either team. It's probably the preferable thing for the Lindgren rink to keep that hammer in the 10th end. since a multiple point end's looking less and less likely as we keep going
Well,
here.
and Abby's not taking the bait. She's going right around this top guard here, so she's definitely looking to play for 2 if possible.
Well, she still has 3 stones to play in this end, so she thinks that she can make a 2-point end out of this.
Yeah.
Might as well go for it.
Good move, good aggressive play.
Sometimes you just change the end around a little and force your opponent to chase you.
This looks tight.
It's overcurled. It's caught the guard. So both rocks are sitting in the house now, completely exposed, and now Sweet going to have an opportunity to set up a force here. If they can hit and split the house a little bit, that's going to put the pressure on Lindgren. So right here is the downside of taking that shot. If you miss it, you give your opponent a chance to put the force on you.
Oh, this looks like it's curling, Mike.
It's coming across that center line very fast.
Yeah.
It missed altogether.
She may have turned that in just a touch when they go that quick.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little release here. So Abby calling for a split, a little promote, or maybe a split.
Yeah.
We apologize for the background noise. It's getting pretty crowded up here on the top level at Broomstones. So we've got a lot of company watching, and
Not to mention some of the teams that have come off the ice are taking full advantage of the recreation that we have up here in the upper level with the pool table, the foosball table, and all the other things that the kids have. So right now, I think that's probably what you're hearing in the background right now is a bunch of the kids that are blowing off a little bit of steam after their games and trying to wind down before it's time to get some rest for tomorrow's games.
typical junior bond.
Well, you know what? I think I'd rather have this for typical junior bond spiel over some of the things we have during our typical men's spiels.
That's true.
So
Well, this is a championship. Even then, the kids like to
low-key.
blow off steam. So
Successful
Abby's team
draw.
drew a second counter in over to the side of the rings. Nice job of splitting the house.
yeah, and I don't really think that those are doubleable. They're pretty flat.
I agree.
So it just looks like they're going to call a hit and stick on the front one. And Lindgren in good shape right now to take a 2 in this end after it looked like she gave Sweet an out.
Exactly. And the switch was that, Shelby put a guard up and Abby didn't take the bait, went right around it when they were trading blows there. She went right around and put one in behind, and that's worked out well. Actually, it didn't. It went next to it, but it's really worked out well for him.
All right.
I mean,
so,
a miss helped.
Yeah,
obviously.
well, misses always help when you're on the good side of them. So Sweet looks like she might have overcompensated from the last shot and is
gonna
hanging
pick here.
a little wide. And
Ooh.
wow, she just bumps it over a little bit, does not remove the yellow rock from play, and now Lindgren sits 2 and has the chance to try to draw a third one in with hammer. And this is her first rock. Sweet only has 1 rock remaining after this, so Lindgren now fully in control of this end.
So that was Corey's rock, a little wide, and just pushed the.
Actually, no, that
Shot
was Shelby
rocker.
throwing that one. That was, her
Was that
first
Shelby
round.
throw?
Shelby's
Yep,
shoulder
that's
first
right.
one, Yeah.
I'm staying corrected.
One of the
Thanks,
things,
gentlemen.
One of the things we've noticed about the Bonspiel here this weekend is that many of the teams have been very fluid with their lineups. They've switched the order around between game to game, and so we up here in the booth we have to check before every game to make sure we know which order these kids are throwing in, because it's not always the same. So right now, Lindgren has an opportunity to draw a third counter in, and it looks like they successfully have done so. Not gonna go behind cover, but it is sitting top 8, 3 stones now, and Sweet.
Shelby's got a tough
Yeah.
Decision here.
It's a very hard decision. What do you do here?
Abby's put herself in a spot to really score pretty well in this end. So Shelby's got to throw.
I mean, here's the rub. Do you try to double here and cut them down so that they can only take a 2, or do you try to draw one in and
She's calling a timeout. Wants to talk to her coach.
That's a smart choice.
Yeah.
This is a shot that could lose the game for you if you don't play the right shot. So take some extra time and make sure you're going to call the right shot.
Yep,
I
yep.
absolutely agree with this call.
It's tough. They've got a number of options here. Hit and roll behind the other, freeze onto the shot rock, which you're conceding probably a likely two to.
Yeah, with
to
that rock
Abby.
being up in the 8 foot, that leaves plenty of room to draw behind it for
Yeah.
the second count.
Yep.
I actually kind of like the hit and roll behind on the current shot stone.
It's a tough call. What you don't want to do is give up 3 here.
Right.
So
If you hit and roll out, it's
yeah, which it's one of those as you coach juniors or you coach anyone. It's what do you want to have happen? What will you accept? And what do you want to avoid? What they really want to avoid here is giving up more than 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's got to dictate some of their strategy. It's tough to make perfect. As much as you want to make a perfect shot and hit and hide here, the likelihood of that could be fairly slim. So that's got to be part of the thinking, and I'm sure the coach is talking through that because I see him putting the broom down in a freeze or putting one in front of that shot rock. Although freeze is not an easy shot to make either.
The only way you can guarantee only giving up a 2 is to double 2 rocks out. I mean, if you freeze onto the front of something, you can cut them down so that they have to draw for their second. That's a really tough shot. I would say that the freeze to a rock or the hit and roll behind cover, they're of equal degree of difficulty. I don't think you really can go wrong with either one.
Looks like they're calling for a dead-on freeze. Yep. As we haven't seen a lot of doubles thrown here,
No,
so
she's probably more comfortable with that draw weight.
you got to let the skip throw what she's most confident in doing. You give her some options, and that's I'm sure what the coach talked through with them. What do you feel? You feel like you got your weight down, and Shelby's demonstrated that through this game. She's drawn the 4 a number of times with facing some big ends. So I think it's a good call for her.
as I've been watching the sheet 1, I definitely agree with Dave there that she has been leaning towards the draw on a lot of shots and making them, and that's
what you want is you really draw for the wins. The hits look spectacular, but it's the draws that generally.
Sometimes when you're a skip, if your team's not exactly playing well in front of you, you just gotta say hop on the back and I'll carry you. Yep. So it might be another
shots
time.
away, and it's curling.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna curl too much for her. They really need to drag that and hold it.
That looks.
Although.
Doesn't look bad. She might get a little hit and hide here, just a little tap.
Wow,
Not
that
bad.
thing just checked up on him right at the end.
It came down. It does not cover the face of that shot rock, as you may see on the camera. But it is available to Abby to chip that out, even if she loses the shot rock.
It looks like she's playing some sort of a down weight hit on this, and
Yep.
she's not afraid if she does, like you said, if she hits her rock off the 4-foot, she'll still stick around for at least 2 or 3.
Can't be too down weight with that ice. She's got about 2 feet of ice there, and they curl pretty hard from the center line out. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens here.
This certainly won't be a normal hit, though.
Yeah,
No.
she just called a tighter broom from the hack
Yeah.
there.
And that's not unusual. The skip you got a big shot here. It can really dictate the game. They get a little amped up and come out of the hack a little harder than normal. So that's a wise move to tighten a broom up and throw at it. She's an accurate thrower, has a good delivery. So smart move on her part.
A little discussion here between her front end while she's in the hack, so probably just helping her calm her nerves before she throws this shot.
Let's hope so. She's got great rotation.
A lot of rotation on that handle.
But,
That looks to be hanging on that center line, though. Is that going to
does.
come over?
it does. I'm not
They
sure it's
only
coming
may
out.
take their own out and actually
They may just get the one here.
give a red.
Wow, they may give up one. Wow, I think we have a huge turn of events here. It looks like it could be a steal of 1. It is. Sweet just handed a gift there. Steal of 1. And Lindgren going into the 10th now, down 1 with hammer.
Well, Shelby did a great job. You put yourself in a position to make the skip on the other team throw a really good shot. She did that. She executed, and sometimes you make them, sometimes you don't.
And
So
I think you
good
hit the
move.
nail on the head there with your comment a few seconds ago about sometimes you get amped up for a shot, and even if you tighten that broom up a little bit, you still come out of the hack flying, and you just give it a little too much juice and don't give the rock a chance to come over.
Yeah, well, I think not only that, she was a little bit wide. I mean, she did the right thing by tightening her broom up. I think she was just a touch wide there, and with the rotation and the speed she threw, it was not going to curl a lot. But I mean, they're curling well. She's got to shake that off. They've got the hammer. They're only down 1. They're looking to score 2 here. So here we go, 10-10.
The nice thing about this, it sets up potential for the extra end. And you know how much I like extra ends.
Absolutely.
So I know that that the coach, you've coached before, I'm sure you've told this to your teams, not to watch the scoreboards on the other sheets. But as a competitor, sometimes it's hard not to.
Well, they know. I mean, they've played well. They beat the top seed. They've got momentum, but they also understand their position. There are 5 teams in the conversation or in the hunt for playdowns, and they know they're one of them. So they really do want this game.
I was more making reference to the fact that 3 of the teams that they're competing against for those final 4 spots have all won their games on the sheet during this draw. And
well,
you
actually,
have to wonder,
all 4 of the Anderson team
won the
won
last draw, yeah.
prior, so
but you have to
know
wonder
that.
if they've noticed that these sheets have already completed and they maybe have looked at those scoreboards to see that they really need a win now.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure even going into that, they were, the other teams were one up on them.
Right.
The other 3 teams that played out here, so they knew they needed this game. I mean, they certainly understand that. It doesn't look like they're too rattled by that. Oh, they're playing a nice little come around here.
Doesn't look like it's going to get behind cover, but it's sitting top 8 right on the center line. And I got to imagine Sweet's going to take that out immediately. They're probably just going to clear as many Yellowstones out as they can.
That's pretty interesting ice for might be a quiet wait here, Mike.
Got to imagine, yeah, some sort of a board plus. Probably like to get across the face of that just a bit and see if they can tuck it behind that the long center guard that they've got.
Yep.
That's definitely quiet weight, and it looks to be curling
Big
pretty
time.
quickly. They may even be on this guard.
Yeah, I think they're on that guard.
Wow, that thing is moving sideways.
See slow rotation.
Yep.
And again, slow rotation on this ice, and really on championship ice, where the icemen want to see a lot of curl, will curl more than 2.5, 3 turns.
So this gives Lindgren a chance now to draw a second counter into the ring, split the house, and possibly take advantage in this end. We'll see how this unfolds here, but sweepers are on this pretty quickly out of her hand.
Well, they want to make sure they get it by that corner guard, and I think they are, but they've got to...
They've just got to make sure that it gets there. And it does over curl and hits the corner guard. Wow.
They did a great job.
Oh, a shout out to my daughter Chrissy, who just got online. So from Schenectady, Chrissy being an old junior curler. Hey, Chrissy, how are you?
Thanks to Todd for letting all the other people on the chat know what the featured games are for tomorrow.
Yep, as with the last couple of days, 4 draws again tomorrow, 4 draws again on Friday, 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., 8 p.m.
Actually, Friday is starts the tiebreakers, so there'll only be a guaranteed 8 a.m. draw on Friday.
Yep.
Potential for noon and 4, and definitely 8 p.m. is the page, I believe, right?
That's correct.
So definitely 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. potential for noon and 4 on Friday if there's tiebreakers needed.
So Friday at 8 a.m. there's 2 women's, 2 sheets of women's teams, 4 women's teams playing and 4 men.
Wow, we have an overcurl on a Lindgren rock here, and it clips the guard.
Yeah, that
spills out. That's an unfortunate miss there.
It is. The advantage goes back to Shelby Sweet and her team. She's going to immediately put up a center guard short of the rings here.
If she can keep executing the center guard, it's going to make it really tough for Lindgren to do anything more than maybe draw for a 1 to tie.
Yep, good point. Good point.
Looks like the strategy for both of these skips has been very, very excellent, quite good. Just some execution misses, slight ones on both teams, just trading them every once in a while.
Yep, teams are both well coached. They're calling good strategy. As usually it comes down most times to execution. But, and it looks pretty good. So here they're sweeping more for direction than distance.
Yeah, that just hung out on them a little bit. It's going to sit on the other side of center for them and not really guard anything.
But with this many stones left to go, just having a center guard to begin with is not a bad place to start.
And as you were mentioning, Lindgren doesn't want that guard there, so she's ignoring the rock in the house and going to take off that center guard and make sure she's got a path to the 4-foot with her final rock so she can get her 1. This one seems to be hanging out a little wide. The sweepers are watching it.
I think she's got a pick
Yeah,
here.
she's got a piece of it.
You've seen those draws snap on that line. It's just the same, too.
Just with that kind of weight, you're wondering, is it going to start to turn? Because
Yes.
it just seems like it's going to continue to ride out there.
Well, that wasn't a lot of rotation, so that one dug in a little and curled. So Shelby going right back again to a guard.
Yeah, I think she's happy to play this game right now.
Absolutely.
Just keep throwing up the guards and force Lindgren to chase her. Because this is a good path for her to at least, at bare minimum, go into the extra end with a hammer.
Back to what we talked about earlier. What do you want to happen? She'd love to steal. She'll accept giving one up to Lindgren. She wants to avoid, obviously, a deuce. So just good strategy and good execution.
This one looks to be a lot better on the line. It's going to come across center, but it's looks like it's coming into the rings almost. Oh, tight guard, real close.
Nicely done.
Yep, checked up really, really nicely at the end there. Although these rocks are close enough, you might see a double here.
Wouldn't be a bad call at some point in time.
Yeah, hit the top one. Hope you get a little bit extra.
Yeah, I think the call is going to be just for the peel, and if it comes a little tighter than they want, they'll get the double. But either way, you just want to avoid nosing it, leaving a guard out front. I mean, ideally here, if she could pick this and spill off and roll it into the 8-foot or the 12-foot somewhere, that'd be ideal. But
nice pick.
Angle's just not there for it.
No.
So she spills that out.
Too far out in front to have that happen.
That's fine. And as expected, Sweet's going to look to put that guard right back up.
Yep,
See if they can execute it again.
She's getting good at calling this line. Knows it well. So game on here.
We are now on first Vice Rocks here for the Sweet Rink. This is Christine Donnan.
This is actually her second Vice Rock.
Yep. Yeah, to Mike's point, they keep changing up the order on how they play, so we can't go by the program. You go by the
official lineup sheet. Yep.
Filled out.
So it does look like Shelby tightened up that line just a little bit, and then with the weight, it just kind of came in a little bit. But it's not a bad position to be in.
No, she sits 2 now, and just sort of setting up a force here. Lindgren's going to have to do something with these rocks.
She's taking off the top counter there, which is the smart move. She needs to make sure the 4-foot's open to her for her bailout if she needs it.
I almost think she's going to try to get a little flop out to the outside and sit in front of that other red stone to make it harder to pick out.
Yep.
No, she ended up spilling, though. A little bit too much. And this will give Shelby Sweet here an opportunity to put that guard back up with her first skip rock.
Yep.
So 2 rocks remain for both teams here in the 10th end, and a 1-point game. Sweet looking to either steal one or set up a force here to take it into into the extra end. So Lindgren desperately trying to get at least a 1 here to prolong this game for another end.
Yeah, I don't think she's desperate yet. She's got the whole house open to draw for her last shot. The question is going to be is how far does Shelby bring this guard in? If she leaves it too far out front, that shot rock is available to Abby for a hit and roll. So interesting choice here. Let's see where the girls are. They're putting the broom down a good 3 feet off the house, and that's a long way out.
Yeah, I'd like to see this at least bite. I think that they need to touch paint here.
It looks like they're going to get
going to be close.
Now they're going to come up as a close guard, 2-3 guard, and it looks like the shot stone's fully exposed, but Lindgren is not even going to pay attention to it. Looks like they're just going to draw behind the guard that was just thrown.
Smart move. Put one on the corner here, and get this weight down. So this is a good move on Abby's part to get this weight down, even if she comes a little heavy or whatever. She's practicing this shot for her second one. The money shot's going to be the final one.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you get taught sometime in your life lessons is learning how to skip. Is if you know you're going to be shooting the draw to the 4 foot with your second shot, you might as well shoot it with the first one. Get the weight and the feel for it.
Yep, exactly.
So
we forget that lesson a lot, though, don't we?
Yeah. The nice thing about it is you always end up learning the lesson the second or third time when somebody else beats you.
Just reinforces it.
So if they can get this behind and buried, it's going to change the end around and force.
Got a lot of rotation here, and there it comes. Now it's starting to finish.
Don't know if it's going to end up getting behind cover though. She really got a lot of room.
This looks pretty good. Just a little.
It's going to hang open though. A little short, a little out in the open.
Yep.
But that's the kind of adjustment you can make after throwing a draw the first time. Not as easy to make after throwing a hit.
So, but here's the thing: this rock is out in the open, but if you hang wide on this hit at all, you run the risk of jamming it onto your own stone and possibly giving your opponent a draw for the 2 and the win.
Yep.
Right. And right now, if they don't block, if this red stone's exposed, then they're giving up the shot potentially for the win.
Well, Shelby's got to put a second count in here. She can't leave that shot rock exposed there. She's got to put a second. The best, at least in my opinion, best shot here is to put a second shot in and then force.
Split the house, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Split the house, force. Even if you cover, that hole.
That's exactly
and
what they're
touching
calling
the,
to.
Yeah, Christine and Shelby just discussing where exactly they want that second count.
Exactly. Just it needs to be second count. And where is not really materially important at this point.
It's nice to see the strategy coming into play, though. They didn't really even take a look at that hit.
Yeah.
When they knew they were count, they really didn't even take a second to think about that hit. They were just figuring where they're going to put second counter in there, which really is going to make it so that the worst case scenarios are going to an extra end.
Yep, exactly.
So now at this point, it's a question of just executing a straight draw somewhere into the 8 foot.
I mean, giving her a draw just this whole game, you might as well use it to your advantage here.
Yeah, she's been just money drawing these, so they are trying to get behind this corner guard. I'm not sure it's going to finish that hard.
I don't think they really care if it makes it fully behind the
Doesn't
corner
matter.
as long as they're second count. Yeah, it's always a nice feeling when your sweepers are just cleaning it and dusting it off, making sure that there's no picks.
Great shot.
Nice weight, almost directly on tee. Sitting 2, nice and wide open, split the house. Really is not going to leave Linger with any choice but to hit and try to take their 1 and move it onto the extra end.
The only choice is that she could draw to the button if she wanted to try that, but she has a lot of room to roll. Or not a lot of room, but she has some room to roll off the hit.
Interesting challenge, though. They're making her throw that inside-out hit, so from the center line out, and so she's got a nice clean release and not overthrow this.
Right, I don't think they threw this line, this end, for a hit.
Not yet.
No, they haven't thrown many hits in this game, and as we saw a couple times with the Fowler team on sheet 2 on our featured game, that
remember in 9 where Abby was throwing an out turn away from the center, and she got a little hot.
Release looks clean, but it's hanging a little on that center line. Needs to come over. It really needs to come over. She may spill. She's going to spill. And that's going to be a 1 for Sweet, and that's game. So unfortunate miss there for the Lindgren rink, and it's going to be a steal of 1 for Shelby Sweet.
Well played game by both teams. You got
great team game, and Sweet from Washington takes the victory 8-6. So all set with our games for the 8 o'clock draw number 18. Once again, just want to take this opportunity to thank our gold sponsors, Dunkin' Donuts of Lexington, Whole Foods of Wayland on Route 20 in Wayland, and Brooms Up Curling Supplies. Thank you so much for helping us make this possible and bringing curling to the East Coast. For Adam Jacobson and Dave Fink, it's been a pleasure bringing you this action tonight. I'm Michael O'Neill at Broomstones Curling Club in Wayland, Massachusetts. Thank you, everybody, and have a great evening.
Have a great evening. Take care. Nice job, guys.